to a wonderful Wednesday evening. It is now a little after 9 Eastern time. Masculine Geek number 35. Our special guest, who's not here yet, he's a little late. He's walking and pooping the dog. And I'll let him explain that when he comes on. His name is Conk, and on Twitter he goes by the name of Vanguard_Conk. And he can explain all about what he is when he arrives. So wow, we have no viewers yet. No, we have 4. There we go. Welcome 4 viewers. We're waiting for our guest, who will be arriving shortly. And until then, TJ,
take it away.
What's up, Red Crusader? TJ is going to do an interpretive dance of Song of Wolfgar. No, not really, but he does have some really cool nature-oriented Geek and Tell.
Yeah. So where I live in the Pacific Northwest, we get a lot of great colors during the autumn season. So I was doing a walk with Reese and grabbed a bunch of leaves for just to put around the house. So this is an example of that. So it looks like these leaves are bleeding when they turn the way they do. So that's one. This is another one right here.
What tree is that from?
It's actually it's splattered blood from the communists I found trying to sneak into my beautiful land.
That's not the question I asked.
Say it again.
What tree is that? Is that like a sycamore or what?
This is where my knowledge of trees and plants really is awful. I do not know. I just was looking around for multicolored leaves and trees, and this is what I got. And then when they fully go red, they look something like this.
Okay, I like that. That's really cool. So welcome autumn. Welcome autumn.
Yeah. So this is another one right here.
Oh, that looks very snake-like, like snakeskin.
Yeah, I think they're gonna stay dry, which is cool. I need to get some more of that.
Okay.
So I just have them on my.
Are you gonna like press them in a book or something, or to hold on to them, or?
Oh, that's a good question. I've never done that before, but I can definitely do that.
That'd be kind of cool. I've done that with a few. Yeah, I've done that with a few autumn leaves just to preserve them. I mean, they'll dry out after a while. I guess if you really want to preserve them, you could spray them with like a.
I have a thing. What is it called? You use it on wood. It's
like a glossy thing, some come in a mat, but some a preservation.
It's not called that's exactly. I did that actually for my first Christmas tree. I'll bring that out for the Christmas version. The base of the tree, I cut all the branches off and whatever, and then I sprayed it with a finishing. So it's basically just there.
Okay. Cool.
So I thought that would be just something to help add to the house because there wasn't a whole lot in the house at the time.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so that'll be something else to do.
Cool. Yeah, we have to come up with our criteria for our gauntlet Christmas.
Yeah, I'm already making plans. Actually, it's a little early, but I might as well. Where the heck is it? Pull this out. So this is from Germany. So what you do here, it's a house. You put incense in the center.
Oh, cool.
And then you close the house, and so it looks like there's smoke coming out of the house. Now, I got that. It's from Germany, and it goes with specific type of incense that I get from Germany. But I'm actually thinking of, bear with me on this, getting either a kit or getting Lincoln logs, using Gorilla Glue to glue the Lincoln logs together, and then using the leftover mortar that I have for my fireplace to use river rock and put a little fireplace inside the cabin.
Oh, that's cool.
So that way I can have the incense go through the chimney of the river rock fireplace and then put that somewhere as a kind of a display case, but something that I've actually done. And if I screw it up, it's not going to be as costly as screwing it up with an actual project.
Gotcha. Cool. I like it. We'll have to, I don't have anything nearly as rustic, but we'll see what happens. I do have like I said, I do have the fireplace.
Yeah. Yeah, I got my fireplace going right now.
Nice. Yeah, I know. I could hear the crackling.
You'll be hearing that a lot, guys, by the way. because as it gets colder, I have so much firewood. I could throw a photo up right now of my outbuilding. And in fact, do I have it on my phone? 1 second.
I'm drinking a shit. One of my girls got it for me. Hang on, let me get the bottle.
One of the girls got it for me. 1 second. So here. So I don't know if you guys can see this. This is just one side of my outbuilding.
You're stocking up there, buddy.
Yeah, that's just one side.
Just one side.
Just one side. So
one side of my house on fire.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, but the other thing is I want to empty that outbuilding out and start turning that into the cigar lounge at some point.
I know, right? Well, it's a golden drock.
Oh, interesting.
It's very, very good.
Here's a geek thing that we can talk about since it's just in the news. So because there's a bit of a division within people, I'm interested in your thoughts. They announced that they are looking at possibly doing, since they've done a remake of everything that ever existed, except stuff that they should remake because it was crap. They're trying to do a remake of Princess Bride.
I saw that. Is that confirmed, or is that some
it's a
jackass
rumor.
just
They're
posted?
looking.
All right, yeah.
I think you know what it is. It's a trial balloon.
Even Carrie Always, and I retweeted it out. Carrie Always is like, this is such a good movie. Don't ruin it. Basically,
yeah. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
So what I saw was interesting is I saw people's responses to that, and I know that there's some people, including some in my family, who really do not like that movie. I've read. I've
heard that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I've read the book and I've watched the movie, and I can see why some people would not like it because they wouldn't get the humor. That makes sense because
that's true.
What's his name? The Sicilian. What's his name? He's the guy who does the voice of Rex in Toy Story.
Yeah, I forget. But he's also in a lot of Woody Allen films too.
Well, what was his name in the actual film?
Vicini.
So the actor who played him says, I actually don't have much of a sense of humor. I don't know what was so funny about my character. So he's the type of guy who would actually not like that film.
Inconceivable. I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Right. My name is Tony Montoya. You kill my father.
Prepare to die. There's no money in revenge. That's right.
Right. There was so many good lines that as a kid I didn't get because you just don't get that humor. But he's trying to climb up the cliffs of insanity, and he goes, "Hello there. I do not think you could speed things up. Look, if you're really in a hurry, you could throw down a rope
or something to help me up.
I could help you, but I do not think you'll accept it since I'm still only sticking around to kill you. That does put a damper on our relationship."
I'm not left-handed either.
Or when he says, what was it? He goes, I promise not to kill you until you reach the top. That's very reassuring. Yes. I'm afraid you'll just have to wait.
He gives him a minute to catch his breath when he's at the top too. So
yeah, he's he goes, I do not mean to pry, but you do not happen to have 6 fingers in your left hand. Do you always begin conversations this way?
The sword fight was pretty cool too.
Oh, so the same guy who did. Well, guess who did that? Same sword master who did the freaking what was
lightsaber?
It? No. It was all the Errol Flynn films. Captain Blood.
No shit. Captain Blood.
Blood. The Adventures of Robin Hood. I believe he also did the Mark of Zorro with Powers. What's his name? Tyrone Powers.
Tyrone Powers is a great actor. He did a lot of Hemingway's stuff. He
was also considered to be who was it? The guy Basil Rathbone was considered to be the best swordsman in Hollywood, and Tyrone Powers was the only one who was even close to him as far as that. But anyways, the Swordmaster was also the one who did Princess Bride.
Okay,
and he was on the very cusp of, I think he was just about to die when Lord of the Rings was being, he was helping out with Lord of the Rings. with the sword fights with Aragorn and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean the sword fights were good. It was just the problem with the movie, or not the problem with the movie, but a difficulty is it's hard placing it into one genre because it's fantasy, but it's not. It's a comedy, but it's not. It's a romance, but it's not. It's an adventure film, but it's also not. It's just it's a very it's kind of like Office Space, right? They couldn't figure out how to market Office Space as a film. Same thing with Princess Bride. I was listening to the documentary when they were trying to do Princess Bride in theaters, and they were, you obviously come up with promotional art. You do the theatrical posters, and they were thinking, okay, what kind of film do we sell this as? And that is genuinely a difficult film to do because it's funny. There's a lot of great stuff in there as far as lines, but it's not a movie that you go necessarily as a comedy to go laugh. That it's not. You're not there to laugh your guts out.
No, that's for sure.
There's also, of course, Billy Crystal as the Miracle Max.
Yes.
He did a great job. Whenever I have my own shtick, where whenever people are heading out, leaving the house, whatever, I go, have fun storming the castle.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
You think it would work? I'd take a miracle. Yeah, goodbye.
You and the shrieking eels. TJ's Secret Admirer is back.
TJ,
we already know who that is.
Save me, my love.
Hi, Atham.
Yeah, basically. No, you let the cat out of the bag. Atham looked at TJ's Secret Admirer. Look that up.
Seriously. Gosh, I need to look at the chat.
You do.
Dude,
so
the
TJ,
chat
we're
is live tonight, man. I'm telling you, the guys are all showing up.
I know.
Shit.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are over there prattling on about Princess Bride. Hey, Princess Bride, blah, 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 blah. Fucking me in the chat. We're having a conversation here.
Well,
Jesus.
no, that's like one of your duties.
I know. Our
It's good.
job is to drive that. Yeah, but we're the main act. They're the sideshow.
That's true.
Dude, but sometimes the sideshow is what makes the show.
Especially the music one. That was really like you guys. Like the chat was driving the show, and I'm fine with that. That's cool.
Yeah,
because I'm a lazy bastard to begin with, so that leaves less work I have to do.
Right.
So, put your hat back on. Rob, put your hat back on, please.
Is it not another example of what I've been noticing is that they've been really focusing also on 80s culture and repackaging it for a modern audience. And one of the reasons I've really been
thinking about... There's no reason to do that because those 80s movies fucking hold up by themselves now.
Right, but the problem is you can't... They don't want to show 80s films because they're political. I mean, Princess Bride is politically incorrect now. You can't do that film. You got to do it with a black transgender woman as Wesley, and Buttercup is a man in a dress, and the giant is actually, whatever it is. But the thing is they really just mutate these stories. But I think one of the problems is they can't come up with any ideas of what kind of stories they want to tell, because we're at this weird point where the 80s had a narrative that allowed it to create the kind of culture that it did. Well, now they're at this point where there's no narrative other than just destroying everything.
Well,
right? that's kind of the
mutually self-destructive cultural push.
Right. I think that's how they view it is what do we need to deconstruct and destroy from previous eras?
Yeah, it's like Teen Wolf with Michael J. Fox, and one of his best friends is wearing a T-shirt that says, "What are you looking at, Dick Nose?" It's great. You would never see that on any movie or any sitcom today. It just wouldn't happen.
Right. Chester Rockwell is saying they're removing the balls from the 80s for feminists and meningitis. I'd say it's also just the fact that people just spoke their minds on, like, the frankness in some of those films is it's pretty amazing. Some of the topics that were allowed to be discussed in a film. But I think it's also just the other problem is it's a superior culture. I can't remember who it was, and I've mentioned this before. There was one year in the 80s that like the number of great films that came out of that year was mind blowing. I mean, the 80s really was one of the best decades as far as a lot of cultural stuff. Now I'm really fond of the 30s and 40s, but I love the so much of the stuff that came out in the 80s. I was just watching Red Dawn, Wolverines, and all these other films. Like I'd say a good chunk of my films that I have in my cabinet are from the 80s. So they're looking at that and it's envy. They when the past is clearly superior to anything you're putting out, you're more inclined to just destroy it so people won't remember. They're kind of doing Thanos, right? They're destroying what was so that people won't even think. They won't even think to remember that that it's a remake, right? Of what they're doing. Yeah. Just was saying assertiveness. Yeah.
Well, a lot of it too is people's sense of humor is really shifted away. I mean, you can even see that. It's like you're talking about Princess Bride. A lot of people don't understand it because they don't get the humor, so automatically they just dismiss it.
Well, they don't have a sense of humor. I mean, not to jump from this, but I was watching that brief part of Dave Chappelle's routine where he says he's doing impressions and he goes, "Okay, I want you to guess who this is," and then he does this very bland like, I'm going to find out what you did, and maybe it was 20 years ago, or maybe it's 20 in the future, but I'm going to get you fired. He goes, "Who's that?"
Yeah,
and everybody's trying to come in. He goes, "It's you."
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, this is why I don't do comedy very often, because comedy is all about pushing the envelope and testing the boundaries, but also comedy is a place where you're supposed to be able to say things that are very taboo, but also true, right? Or famous comedians and guys like Bill Burr or Dave Chappelle, they said a lot of things that were absolutely true. You just couldn't say them with a straight face. You couldn't say those things and be literal or be serious. You had to say it as a joke.
Yep.
But as far as the remakes, that's all I see them doing in the future. It's further indication that they don't know how to create art because that's not what they're there to do. They're not there to tell good stories. They're there to push.
They're there to ruin our good time.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can't do or say what Dave Chappelle says.
I would no.
But thanks, Adam.
TJ has to play to his strengths. TJ is not a comedian.
I'm a comedian. I say a lot of things that are funny.
Well,
I just don't say it on a YouTube channel.
Well, there's that too. Yeah.
As my buddies would tell you, they'd be like, "Yeah, he says far worse stuff, just not on a recorded live stream."
That is true.
Thanks, Atham. But I'm not interested.
That's true. George Carlin was
he was ahead of his time.
He actually, you go back and watch a lot of his routines in the 90s. Well, he was talking about euphemistic language back in the 90s and how ridiculous that is.
Well, Christ, he was talking about shit back in the 70s that, back then you're like, oh, whatever. And it's life today. It's like, Jesus, this guy knew what was going on even back then.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What's really, I'd say the worst part of it is, and this is before the live stream started.
Hey, here we go.
Hey.
Oh, hey.
Conk is here. All right, TJ.
I am alive.
Yes.
Hey, get rid of the banner there.
Oh yeah, let's hang on.
Otherwise, there we go.
All right, TJ, finish your sentence, go ahead.
Oh, I was just explaining how the society is an insane asylum. It's just a question of, are you dealing with one of the inmates or are you dealing with one of the orderlies? But they're all part of the system. It's just which one's insane, one's sane, but complicit in the other person's insanity.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good point. And welcome, Conk. How did the dog pooping go, by the way?
It didn't happen because he was way too stimulated. Like everyone and their grandma decided to walk their dog tonight off leash, and he was having a field day trying to kill stuff.
That guy. Fuck that guy.
He's a very good guard dog.
Nice.
A little too good. He's a chill pill.
There you go.
Yeah, I got him right here at my feet, chilling out.
Okay.
I got to try to get him tired every day and poop, and he's very specific about it.
What breed of dog?
It's a bull mastiff mix. He's a big stinker.
Gotcha. Yeah, literally. Damn.
Yeah.
So
He's
in a
1
dump
year
truck.
old. He is 1 year old, and he's 146 pounds.
Oh
Jesus.
my
Your
God.
fucking
Yeah.
dog weighs more than I do.
Yeah, it's nuts. He is a big old mess. You should see the
Shit.
floor of this office right now. It's just destroyed with his crap.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're not kidding. You gotta watch out for flying turds with that dog.
Yeah, that dog can literally shit in a dump truck. Wow.
Yeah, he's specific on his poops, but when he goes, he goes. It's like a 2 or 3 bagger.
I was gonna say, do you carry like a large bag with you when you?
I actively try to find
32-gallon
parts
fucking
that
trash
have them
bag.
for free, so I can.
Okay.
He can poop on their dime.
You
know?
got
I
one of
don't
them
have
small.
a scoop. I have a shovel.
I was gonna say a small
Yeah.
garden shovel, garden trowel.
I don't know. Hopefully he just like dumps in a bush where no one sees it, and I can just let it be. Circle of life, fertilize those crops. But,
Yeah, I mean that kind of pooping is fine. I mean, I get it on the sidewalk and asphalt and places where there's high traffic areas, but out in the woods or out in like under a bush in a park, there you go.
Yeah, his big kick right now is pooping in a graveyard, and that feels extra disrespectful. So, yeah, that's where we're at tonight. But man, we were playing Frogger, trying to dodge all the other people and their dogs tonight because he was going ham. And he never chilled out, so he never pooped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was just on alert the whole time.
So if you just all of a sudden disappear from the broadcast, we know
a dump is happening.
There's a dump in progress.
There was a disturbance in his force. Yeah.
He shook something loose.
Seriously. Anytime you say I have to poop the dog, I was telling the guys before the broadcast, I had this picture of you with this small dog and you're just squeezing it.
Oh yeah,
pooping.
Dude, that'd be so much simpler. I wish I could do that. Yeah, he's like all muscle. He's very hard to do anything like that. I have this giant ass kennel next to me, and it takes up half the room in this office, and it's like trying to wrestle Arnold Schwarzenegger to bed every night when I got to put him in there. It's a problem.
Get to the pool.
There's the takeaway from tonight's show. It's like trying to wrestle Arnold Schwarzenegger into bed.
Yeah. Whenever you have problems putting toddlers to sleep, just imagine it's also Mr. Universe.
There you go.
That's what it feels like. It's a pain. I got a couple little nicks and scratches all over my body from some teeth and nails flying.
Wow.
He's a fighter, but
dangerous.
only me. Yeah.
So you're doing the Jackie Gleason thing from like Smokey and the Bandit. You're like, some bitch. We gotta get this damned some bitch. I'm trying to get him out the door.
Yeah, it always starts with bribes, and then once he's onto it, it's go time. He won't do it.
Oh damn!
So yeah, you want a pig ear? You want some cowhide? You want a new bone? Okay, it's over there in that cage. Oh no!
I think no. I fell for that one too many times.
Yeah, those are fighting words now. Oh man.
Nice. So, welcome to the show. It's good to have you on. Do you want to go and introduce yourself and give a little bit of background?
All right. Well, my name is Conk, I believe.
Yes.
I think is what it is.
Yes.
Last I checked. I've been in the sphere, if we don't want to call it, the gay nightclub manosphere anymore, for about a year and change. I do moderating on Rollo and Rich's channels, Entrepreneur Cars and Rollo Tomasi. And I kind of got my fingers and pies in a lot of different channels and doing some behind the scenes stuff. Do a couple podcast guest appearances. So that's kind of my main shindig. You'll see me in the comments section of almost every video.
Okay.
Doing some chat support while they're doing the talking support.
Nice. Now you did the Rollo's subject matter of red pill and religion. Yeah. Okay.
We've emailed back and forth way back before I even did the moderating on his channel stuff. But I actually came from being a pastor background kind of thing. So I worked at a bunch of different churches and a bunch of denominations, and I realized like what they all have in common and all the things they hate each other about. It's kind of like the same thing. So I got a lot of the behind the scenes work of a lot of churches and seeing how they run and all that. And most of them are as bad as they sound. So
so you're a legitimate.
Got some horror
you were a
stories
legitimate pastor then.
Yeah. I was an associate youth pastor as how I started because my brother was a youth pastor, and we actually did that for free, which sucked. We didn't know we could get paid. We were still in our late teens, early 20s. So We did that for free, and it was a bunch of old ladies fighting for power in a Baptist church down the street from our school.
That's not a shock.
Yeah, so we did that, and then I went and I got my bachelor's in theology and religion.
Okay.
And then I started transitioning from, I did a bunch of places. I worked at a bilingual Hispanic church in Colorado. They did English and Spanish services, and everybody, it was like the most Spanglish you could get. I was definitely the minority there. Yeah. And so I picked up a thing or two, but probably nothing good on the language aspect. But man, I got some horror stories there. They're pretty extreme. That was a Pentecostal church.
Oh,
the whole speaking in the tongues, yada, yada type stuff.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. Oh. And I lied on my application saying I was Assemblies of God and spoken tongues just so I could work there. It was one of my jobs to do in between my college classes.
Oh, my God.
And so that was pretty fun. I actually am, if I could find the card somewhere, but I'm actually ordained as an official Assemblies of God missionary, even though I don't believe in the Assemblies of God at all. I think
oh, wow.
Yeah, okay. Specifically that domination is worse than most others. Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, it was great fun.
Okay. What's that denomination where they do the snake handling?
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's
Psycho?
Wild. Yeah, well,
there's that, but I don't think they call themselves that.
Yeah, what's the official on paper so they can get your?
I don't know. I know it's definitely in the Bible Belt. That's definitely a Southern thing. Probably KJV only type of guys. I don't know what the specific thing is, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I remember
taking a lot of verses out of context, and it's actually funny because that one specifically they talk about, it happened in the Old Testament, but in the New Testament, it's at the end of Mark. And actually, it's now scholars agree that like the last chapter of Mark, the Gospel of Mark, was added in like 200 years later. So now it's not even canon.
Oh, wow.
And so they built their whole church off of something that got proven false later. Yeah, if you go open any modern Bible, there'll actually be brackets around the last chapter saying like, well, these aren't found in the earliest manuscript. Somebody added it in later.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's quite a few of those. There's a bunch of random chapters in Paul's epistles that probably weren't written by Paul, but it was in the same vein. So sometimes they'd throw them in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The Bible's got a very interesting history. A lot of people don't know.
Yeah. You're not kidding.
Yeah. It's a lot of people believe. I was talking to one of the other guys in Rich Cooper's channel. I'm a big member of his men's community. Mm-hmm. He has his own Facebook thing too. And I've been doing that for a while. And I was talking to a guy last night about that. And a lot of people believe inherently that like Jesus wrote the Bible and died, like, but that's not even close to the history of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you hear people say like, who cares about the Bible? What does King James know about Jesus? And like, they don't understand. Like I've heard actual people saying that they believe King James wrote the Bible, even though some random name translation from like the 1500s.
Yeah.
It's just there's a lot of misconceptions on both the evangelical and the other side. And it runs pretty deep on both the corruption on both sides, really. So
really, okay,
it's good to sort those out and try to figure out for yourself, kind of thing.
Well, that makes sense. Makes sense. Now, how about your geek cred? Let's segue into that.
Good.
Too. Yeah.
So I got my first D&D campaign under my belt November, December last year.
Nice. Okay.
We've had ideas to start new ones, but everybody right now is getting moving around, and a couple of my friends are getting engaged against my wishes. But so a lot of my core group is we're all going through life translation. Words suck. Life transitions at the same time. So like everybody's juggling a bunch of balls right now. So only a couple of them are literal because they're gay. But
no, you playing 5e?
Yeah, we played 5e. I had an orc paladin named Thud. I was very proud of him.
That's a good name for an orc paladin, actually.
Yeah, his name was Thud, and his brother was Thwack. And,
hacking slash team. There you go.
Yeah, and I actually played what was it? It was lawful neutral. Is how I did that.
Okay.
Yeah, I played him lawful neutral, and I did. I was the god of nature, and I hated magic and elves and anything mystical and undead. I wanted to kill it. So. Because they just didn't know how to do a real fight like a man.
Yeah, right.
Using all them cheap tricks. Just punch somebody. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Absolutely. Okay, so you've been playing for...
I did a campaign that I think was 7 or 8 weeks. And then we didn't even finish it. We all actually died. So, which kind of sucked. Oh, man.
Apparently, we have a critic.
What's he even talking? I'm not
don't
paying
know.
attention. I'm not paying attention to the chat. I'm talking with Conk here. So what's going on?
He hasn't said anything other. I said hi, how are you? And he says good, and he's thanks Rob. As I told him welcome, and he said thanks Rob and fuck Vince.
Yeah, haters gonna hate.
It's probably because you play lawful good characters or something. You know, some of that pansy shit. You got to play chaotic or like at least neutral evil. Come on.
What are you talking about,
man?
Hang on a second. Where the hell? Yeah.
But my character was crazy because all of my party members were magic except me. And so I had to find ways to team up with them while still hating them the whole time.
Oh,
it was very interesting. But everybody was like wizard, sorcerer, warlock. We had like one of everything, cleric. And I had to argue and try to backhand them essentially. It was weird. I was like the villain of the party, even though I was still a good guy. Nice. Even though I believe I was fighting for truth and justice and nature and animals and shit. It's just that all of my team members went against my actual character. Yeah, and so it was definitely interesting. It was fun, but yeah, like I said, we all died before we even finished the campaign.
Oh,
we got about 7 or 8 weeks in. Everybody got killed at like level 4.
Oh wow, that's after you've invested some time and effort into the character. Now, is it a homebrew campaign or is it out of the box?
Oh no, it was homebrew.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was the DM was their first time DMing. They were only players, so my only experience in the D&D campaign was from a guy who didn't know how to DM. So the guy that is the veteran DM was one of the players, and he kind of had to do both roles. So so it was a little awkward on the gameplay and mechanics wise, but most of my friends are pretty freaking ridiculous and pretty creative. So otherwise I wouldn't hang out with them.
All right,
so
cool.
we made it entertaining, even though the actual rules and application and the tech of it sucked ass.
Gotcha. Yeah. Do you prefer more crunchy game mechanics, or do you really get into the role play?
No, that was my first time trying to do role play shit. Like I've always been a min maxer, you know what I mean? I love doing the stats and builds, and like I like having an idea and then trying to flesh out that idea through those mechanics, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like a new game that just came out was Borderlands 3, and I decided to buy that. I haven't bought a video game in over a year, but I just decided to buy that for shits and giggles. And my thing I do is like, okay, I want to do this, and I look through all the skill trees, all the characters, all the progressions, and I try to force my character into that alignment, so I still get what I want through those mechanics, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I did with the orc paladin as well. It's like I didn't say I wanted to be, an orc paladin that took this type of smite and this type of that. I just made up a backstory, and I just tried to min-max all of my mechanics so that it was exactly what I wanted at the end. I'm very big on connecting the dots.
Okay.
To make a picture.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good way to play, actually. It's a very good way to play.
Yeah, it's all about brainstorming.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now TJ's just started playing D&D. He had his first game session when we were down in Gettysburg.
Yeah.
So he had fun with that, and I think Rob just set fire to his swimsuit area. So
that's pretty much. I'll be right back. Small emergency.
Good night, folks.
He's like, I don't think Rob was wearing pants. I think that's what happened. So.
Was he Sean Connery in The Last Crusade? Sean Connery did a whole bunch of scenes in that movie without his pants on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sounds like the life.
No, he just sweat so badly on the movie sets. He just said, I got to take my trousers off.
That's funny.
So he just that Sean Connery, so he can do whatever he wants. So
I remember you. Yeah, I remember you. You saying that.
Yeah, like that one scene where they're in the Zeppelin or whatever, but they're actually on a movie set or whatever, and he's got the whole suit on or whatever. He just didn't want to be having sweat pouring down his face when they were doing the scene, so he says he's going to take his trousers off, and everybody's like, "You can't do that," and he goes, "Yeah, I can." You're not
No.
filming me you're not filming me standing up. So what's the point?
Yeah,
So
right.
that was funny. But yeah, I'm looking at my character right now. So I'm a monk, in D&D, possibly in real life. Hermit also.
We got to bookmark that. I'm going to come back to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did one that was actually really fun to do. What I really like about D&D and other potential games that could come from that is it's a lot of imagination. And it's for people who are capable of tapping into that part of their mind where they can imagine themselves in a situation that they're not actually in. And I know a lot of people who can't, their minds, I don't know what the term is for it, but they can't think about, they don't have any imagination. They're very literal people in the sense that the idea of imagining that, when you're a kid, that you're out on some adventure, you're exploring for hidden treasure, or you're going on some archaeological dig that you just read about in a book or something like that. They can't do that. So when they're sitting down with a D&D game, all they see in front of them is a bunch of full-grown men with dice and a guy,
So it's like playing with Drax for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, exactly. Any analogies go over his head. Nothing goes over my head.
Exactly.
My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it. Yeah, seriously, that's pretty much what it's like. So it's nice to be able to do that because then you can kind of, it's an escapism, and it's a cool one because it doesn't cost a lot of money to do.
That's true. That is very true.
Yeah, I know. It does cost a pretty penny though to try to collect all the books and shit for 5e is what I learned the hard way. Because I bought all the stuff because they wanted me to DM the next one, even though I've never done it before. But I can get pretty creative. And we were actually going to do it on Ravnica, which was the Magic the Gathering D&D crossover. Because I'm a huge Magic nerd. That's like my go-to game right now. They have it online for free called Magic Arena. And man, Magic's interesting. It plays a lot lower like chess than anything, which sounds crazy, but it's a lot of thinking turns and turns and turns in advance, and being able to like hide your motives and those kind of things, and like throwing out some bait. It's a lot of that type of play, counterplay, throw out bait, trap people kind of gameplay. So that's definitely what I'm more attuned to. And there's a lot of life lessons in Magic as well. Like blue players are assholes. Like
there you go. Yeah. I've never played Magic the Gathering.
Oh my god, yeah, it's honestly right now would probably be the best time to start. They have Magic Arena for PC. It's in open beta. Yeah, you can play completely for free. They teach you how to play the game.
Oh, cool.
You could obviously, like any game nowadays, they have microtransactions so you can buy cards faster, but you can play the whole game for free and learn it, and you could challenge people or play online with randoms matchmaking. Like Magic's always been a super expensive hobby. This is the only time in the history where it's free to learn and free to play literally whenever you want with an internet connection. So but a lot of it, like how I said, it's a lot like chess, but if you've ever read The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, that applies to playing Magic the Gathering, about controlling the flow of information and having more options than other people and being able to like fake and slight things. It's actually really interesting. If you read 48 Laws of Power, you are a better Magic player, which is really surprising. Oh, man. Yeah. Have you guys ever read that book at all? Because I've been wanting to read it. Because I think it's a lot in line with what I do for a living. But
I've seen the laws, and I like a lot of them because they're applicable to things that I've seen in life and things that I observed on my own. And I think that what's really important for people to grasp is that, and this is something that I had to get into my mind, power is not necessarily bad. And in fact, in many areas of life, power is absolutely critical. But people get scared when you're talking about, I want to have power over this. They're like, they freak out and they think that that's unnatural. That's no. If you don't have power, you don't have the ability to achieve something that you want.
Yeah.
Right. So if you don't have power, you don't have the ability to get the kind of job that you want.
I'll answer that in a second, Christian. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. That I haven't read the book, but from what I've heard of it and what people have said about it and the laws that I've seen, it's about you being able to be in a position where you are controlling rather than being controlled. And guys, I got news for you. It's a zero-sum game. Either you're controlling or someone else is. But if there's a vacuum, power is going to fill it. It's either yours or someone else's. That doesn't mean you do bad things with that power, but it means that you want to have the power to prevent someone from doing something that affects you that you don't want to have happen. And there's a lot of people who are like, oh, well, I don't want to have control over anybody else. I guess I'll be oppressed. Well, great. You're not morally virtuous. Allowing other people to do stuff against you is bad because you aren't willing to take control just makes you weak. And weakness is a sin.
I spoke with our boy Jack Napier a couple days ago about this, where, pacifism is not morality. Pacifism is a lack of competence, and you're disguising it as morality, which is a lot of leftist politics in general is a bunch of messed up stuff like disguised as morality, like save the kids, save this, save that. And but when it comes to power, this is something I always think of that's really important. There's a lot of, the two things is like money is power, or what's the other one that's really important? Like knowledge is power. You hear that all the time, G.I. Joe. Winning is
only if you do something with it.
Yeah.
If you don't do anything with it, there's not necessarily, at least in my opinion, there's not power behind knowledge in and of itself. You got to actually do something with it, whether you do it with other people, to other people, for other people. But if you just know it and don't do anything with it, it's not necessarily power to me.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. It's basically nothing.
Yeah. What I look at that is because a lot of people say this is power and this is power. But what I did is I looked through all of the different, what do they all have in common? What does knowledge have in common with money, with all the other things, sex, all those things? All of them come down to options. Options is power.
Yeah.
I feel like that is the root of everything. The definition of a slave by default is being forced against your will. You have zero options.
Or not knowing that you even had options. I mean,
exactly. Ignorance is a lack of power. Right.
Yeah. To give a quick example, because it's really vivid on my mind. Imagine a parent who explains to their child all the options that are available in life that they can do. As a teenager, you can do this, you can do this, you can do all this different stuff. That kid has power because they're aware. They know knowledge that they have options, right? As opposed to a parent who doesn't tell them anything or says the only option if you want to get further in life is to do what I tell you to do. That kid is a slave because he's denied knowledge, and the knowledge is he has other options. And so that's what our society in many ways tries to enslave men into doing, is denying them the ability to learn or discover that they have other options other than what they've pre-packaged for us. And the problem is, once you become aware of that, they have nothing to say, so they just will shame you or go after you in other ways. But they won't tell you that it's not an option. They can't say that, or they are, and they just look like fools, right?
Exactly. And that's almost the whole point of the red pill philosophy. And with the rational male, it's bringing awareness. Awareness is, I think, the key word.
Yep.
And you can even look at the school system. Like, it applies to almost everything. There's a lot of things they don't want you to know so that they still have the control. Like, when's the last time you saw someone teach about taxes or financial aid or college loans in a high school?
Oh, geez.
Never. They just say, go to school and get in debt. That's what everyone does. They don't tell you have other options, right?
Right.
They don't tell you what you're signing your life over for your next, 20 years of
the trades are evil. Being an electrician is evil for losers, even though they make $50.
Yeah. That's for ex-cons. They were meth dealers. They go to construction when they get out of jail, but
they also make more money than you working at Starbucks.
And they're
little to no debt. Yeah.
The other thing is, you're talking about passivity, and that's another thing that I've really discovered is that people think there are two values in our society, and it permeates everything, whether you're secular or religious, and you could probably testify to this as well. There's two values. One, being a victim makes you virtuous. The second one is not doing anything is also virtuous. By not doing anything, as long as you don't do anything, you're okay. It's when you do stuff that you get in trouble. So if you just sit and you're complacent or lazy or late, like, our society encourages people to not do anything. At the very least, you can do these prepackaged, pre-approved list of things that you can engage in. But other than that, if you just don't do anything, right?
Well, if you don't do anything, you're not a threat.
You're not a threat. But at the same time, so in culturally, if you say someone's not doing anything, you look like you're picking on them. Like being lazy and being a loser, that only comes into play when you're not, you actually are actively opposing the narrative, right? What's the go-to line whenever a man questions the system? He's accused of being a loser in his mom's basement. Basically, in other words,
or an incel. Yeah, incel is like the new term.
Again, somebody who isn't doing anything, because an incel implies that they're supposed to go out and how do I get the girls, right? They're supposed to go get the girls. They're supposed to go pursue girls. They're supposed to do something. Their passivity is only a sin insofar as they question the narrative. But if they're quiet and they don't, they're blue pill, that's okay. So being passive and being a victim, those are basically, I mean, it's no wonder that there's people who are essentially worthless loser human being excuses for our species, and yet they carry on as though they are the moral authorities of the generation because they've accomplished nothing and they've made up some victimhood status.
Exactly. And Nietzsche talked about that a lot, didn't he? He had
I've never read
slave morality and master morality. Yeah.
I've never really read Nietzsche. I've read Jack Donovan's books where he talks about Nietzsche.
There's a lot of cliff notes of Nietzsche in there. But yeah, he had, so there's 3 types of morality or 3 types of people, essentially, and it goes right in line with what we're talking about. There's the slave morality, or like the sheep or the herd is kind of what he calls them, which is the mass population that just like smile and nod and do their job and are relatively submissive. And, being humble is the virtue and not shaking the boat. And then your basic 9-to-5 grind workers, right? Then you have master morality, which is all similar to the last man, which he talked about as the people who are essentially over the herd. And then his third one, that's where he goes into the Superman or the Ubermensch. And the Ubermensch is separate from the dichotomy. And that's your own true independence. And you can dance in between the 2 groups as you choose. Is how he says it. Like you're totally free and you're an Ubermensch when you're able to not just unplug from the herd, but also unplug from the last man trying to be the alpha dominating authoritarian as well. And he says, when you're able to unplug with both, and you can communicate with both groups on their level, even though you're your own independence and your own, mental point of origin, to use red pill terms. So that's the real Ubermensch. Yeah. So
the Ubermensch was really just to use Vox Day's socio-sexual hierarchy of men, was a Sigma, somebody who doesn't care and doesn't play the game, but is effective at it anyways because he's the placeholder terms. But the guy who's not, because one of the things about I hate to use the word alpha. I think we need to almost use different terms because people always associate being the alpha as being like something to aspire to.
A Chad. Yeah.
Yeah, the Chad.
If you're not a jock, you're not an alpha. That's a lot of people's opinion,
Also, whatever. Being an athlete makes you an alpha. No, it's not they aren't moral terms, and they're not necessarily qualities that you want to aspire to, because in a lot of cases they make you want to beat the living crap out of the guy because he's a jackass. But the guys who are just not interested in, they really don't care about what other people think. They're interested in what they want themselves, whereas all the other guys are interested in achieving social status. And so from what he's saying on that, but again, you almost have to adopt some of that mindset in our society to deal with the implicit, almost explicit values of, if you're a victim, you have moral authority over those who are not. And also, if you do nothing, that's okay. It's people who do stuff. It's people who are assertive and direct and aggressive and self-confident. Those people are a problem because they make other people, we've completely inverted the hierarchy in our society, where the losers are at the top and the winners are kept down at the bottom. And when they try to ascend, the losers are like, oh my gosh, this guy is clearly naturally in the natural order higher than me. We need to keep him down because I feel insecure and ashamed.
insert shaming tactics and peer pressure, right?
Well, somebody, I think it was Voxday himself who said, I mean, I always noted this with men and I couldn't figure it out. He said, cowards hate men who will agree with them on the same thing, but actually assert themselves and fight because it fills the coward with shame. And they will be more inclined to fight someone who claims to espouse the same views as them than people they claim to oppose, because the enemy doesn't fill them with shame. But the person on their own side that fights makes them ashamed. And so they either drive them away or they actively fight them.
That's like the definition of crabs in a bucket, right?
Well, it's you're
fighting your own team, so they won't rise.
They're basically an autoimmune disease. They mistake their own side for the enemy. But I think it's even worse than that. They know that they're on their side. They're such it's even beyond cowardice. They are brave and bold when they're attacking their own people. They're just total cowards when they're fighting the enemy. That's what I think why cowards are such a hated and despised group of people within traditional masculine culture and virtues, because that they're the worst type of person to have on your within your ranks. The Lord hates a coward.
Yeah, and I mean,
who in the chat, Atham, look that up.
There you go.
All right, TJ Secret Admirer, look that up.
Yeah,
she has been quiet.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, she's probably working her 190-hour work week schedule while spelunking and smoking pipes.
Oh, to answer Christian Soto's question, I already forgot, but it's my favorite combo is green black. So green is so there's 5 colors in Magic, and they each have different strengths and weaknesses. Green is all about nature and stuff. You can kind of see it's related to my Thud character. He's a lot like that. So green is a lot of nature, growth, and it's about a fair game of Magic, but you're doing it better than them. There's not a lot of tricks, right? Or screwing with people. It's, oh, you've got guys with a bunch of 3 power guys. Well, I got a bunch of 8 power guys on the same turn, So you win the fair game. And it's very creature heavy in general. Black is everything, but at a cost. And it's a lot of like demonic stuff where, cool, you can have all this if you pay a price, They have a lot of things where you draw cards or you kill stuff, but you have to sacrifice some of your own crap, either your own life or your own creatures, to get that effect. So black deck can do anything any other deck can, but at a price, which is awesome. And so green black together is actually like swamp, where it's both growth and death at the same time. And so a green black deck is creature heavy, but every time they die, they come back over and over again. So there's a lot of like swamp monster, like swamp thing type stuff. And there's a lot of zombies where you die, they come back, you die, they come back, you die, they come back. And my favorite specific strategy of that is dealing with a graveyard or the discard pile, essentially what it is. And it's all about manipulating that, where my favorite decks are where I throw away my deck on purpose and I don't even draw cards. I just throw my deck away into my discard pile. And then I have a bunch of spells that say, take X amount of creatures out of graveyard, immediately put them on the field. And you can do those like turn 2, turn 3, while other people are, barely starting. And so that's all you do is self-sacrifice my own deck and then just play actually out of my graveyard instead of my hand in my deck.
Ah, okay.
So it's pretty good. The main downside of that is they can see it coming because graveyards are public knowledge. Anybody can see in it, so they know what's coming.
Gotcha.
But usually, if you build your deck right, you can do it so early in the game they can't have a response. They're too busy setting up. So that's my favorite thing. And my main deck right now is throwing away a dragon that does like 12 damage, and I can get it out on turn 3. And usually, most cards are based on the turn you put them out. So turn 1, you usually can only put out a 1-power thing. Turn 2, you could maybe put out a 2-power or 2 1-power things. And my goal is to get power 7, 8, 9, and 10 on 3, using my graveyard and killing my own creatures on purpose to evolve them essentially or reanimate them as zombies. But yeah, to answer your deck, that's my kind of thing is green, black, fucking with the graveyard.
There's a lot of
I know never to play with you.
Yeah, right? It's fun.
There's
And
a lot of
my
chess
favorite part of those
maneuvering.
games, my favorite part of those games is like when I have a creature and they kill it, cool. And if I have a creature and they don't kill it, cool. Like it's a very no stress deck because you don't
Nice.
care what zone your creature is. You're going to use it again anyway,
Mm.
So, because a lot of people, they always play cards or game stuff and they get hyped up and they put out their big piece and it dies in a turn and they're like, and they just like quit instantly. But if you play green black, none of it matters. You're going to play your cards. It's inevitable, which is my kind of thing. So
Nice. Yeah, like I said, I've never played before. Have you played, Rob?
I have not.
Okay.
But just listening to him, it's like, fuck you. I don't want to play with you.
Yeah, I play a lot of standard, which is the cheaper, more thing where it's only the last 2 years of cards. Magic's been out for like 20, 30 years.
It's been out forever.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's
true.
where
I
you
forgot
play the
about
big
that.
bucks. When you play with every card, some cards can get anywhere from $2,000 to $20,000 per piece. So,
Jesus.
so people are playing with like $20,000 and $30,000 dollar decks at the big tournaments using the whole pile. Yeah. Yeah, it actually has its own. I understood the stock market after learning about Magic Finance. It's
that's like a down payment. Not down payment, not in my area. That's like a sizable chunk in your house mortgage.
Yeah, to play a deck and hope you win, but everyone else bought that deck too. So you better be pretty damn good at the game because everyone's bringing $30,000 cards.
Wow.
Wait. Okay, so I'm curious. We want to go down.
He's trying to wrap his head around this.
Yeah. So here's where I'm. Look.
Hey, I'm saying I don't play that. I just know about it and look at it.
DJ's going to lecture us now.
No, this is not a lecture. This is where I'm trying to. No, I'm not going to be brief. I'm not going to be not brief. I have board games and card games that are very, very inexpensive and they're fun to play. So what inspires someone to invest $20,000 in a deck of cards and play other than to show off some sort of socioeconomic status that they are so filthy wealthy that they can afford to use a disposable income to buy said card deck?
Well, I'm glad you asked, TJ. I'd love to answer that question for you.
Okay, Mr. Debate Moderator.
Yep. This is about to turn to the Democratic Convention.
Nice.
No, we should just we need to give a free deck to everybody.
Yeah,
that's right.
You get $1,000 worth of Magic cards every month for a year,
and it's called the Magic Dividend.
Yeah, that's a Magic Yang. But Yang the Gathering. So there's 3 ways to make money off of, like, there's 3 jobs you can do full time and live a pretty decent life. You have the players, obviously. They have tournaments, they have their own Super Bowl type things, and they have some pretty big cash prizes. They're not like Dota prizes, but they're up there. And if you place, like, you don't even have to win to make a shit ton of money. Top 8 is like the thing. If you've made top 8 of any tournament, like, you're already a star, right? And if you get enough top 8s, you get in the Hall of Fame, which is where they start paying for your hotels and planes and all of those to get to all the places, just so you'll show up as a celebrity.
Damn.
And you've never had to win a tournament in your life. If you've top 8'd enough times, that's how hard the game is, right? So if you're a really good player, you can make a living off that. Most prizes are anywhere from 10 to a couple 100,000, depending on how big it is and how many people are there.
Wow.
That's how wise it is, in the thousands. And then, if you get good enough at it, then they start paying for your hotels and they start paying for your plane tickets. And they'll, like, ask you to do some commentary and stuff, and they'll pay you for that. And so there's like a sub-celebrity culture of it. Yeah.
Funded by WTC.
Yeah, that's Wizards of the Coast. They own D&D and Magic.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah, they bought Wizards of the Coast. You can actually
make that a full-time fucking job. Jeez.
Yeah, if you get good at it. There's a lot of grinding. Like, there's probably going to be a year or 2 of you just spending money to get there. But if you're good enough and you can top 8 with the best of them, you're fine. You never have to win. You just have to top 8 a lot,
Jesus.
Yeah, they
like
keep it
the World Poker Tournament type of thing.
Yeah. And then, so there's 3. So that's the first way. That's the most obvious one because you see it public. The second way is instead of being a player, you can be a deck builder. They don't make as much money, but they're very useful. They're the pivot between the first and the third, and I'll get to the third one real quick. But the deck builders, they're good at building a deck. So there's two parts of Magic, right? There's playing the game, and there's building your deck before the game even starts. And that in itself is its own game of being able to make a deck that's really efficient and can do something out of nowhere, because you have to be able to win. There's a bunch of different ways you could win, and you have to be able to predict what other people are going to play and put answers for that within your deck as well. Jeez. And so you have to be really plugged in, not to just the players, but the decks the players are playing. And it's almost rock, paper, scissors, where somebody thinks of the best deck, and then next tournament, a lot of people bring not the best deck, but they bring a deck made to beat the best deck. And then you'll have some people that say, what deck is okay against the best deck, but is good at beating the first counter deck, right? And so almost all tournaments turn into those types of rock, paper, scissors of being able to read the game. Mm-hmm. And what they do is they make a list, they test it, and they'll actually sell it to people, to pro players to play when they have a good description and they have a good, efficient deck that can beat the other decks that are all playing rock, paper, scissors. So, and that's just an understanding of the mechanics and trying to, read plays and try to psych people out kind of thing and try to think how that's going. And the final way, so that is a pivot between the first one, the players, and the third one, which is the finance area. And this goes a lot into, supply and demand type stuff, because they only print cards a certain amount, right? And then they usually quit printing them. Occasionally they'll reprint cards, but it's very rare. So there is actual supply and demand. So if you're a player, you need to understand the deck builders of what cards are going to be played by who, and you need to realize how many of them are out there and how expensive they are, right? And they have their own economy. They have their own guy. They have a guy named Alpha Investments, and he kind of does like what's that one crazy guy that like the Mad Money, like buy, sell on cable TV. They have those kind of shows just for Magic Finance of what cards to buy and what cards to sell when.
Wow.
And it's its own market. Yeah. And that's where those big cards like 10,000, 20, 30,000 are like the big, golden goose of cards of like knowing when it's valuable, when it's not valuable for play. Because once somebody realizes a deck's good, like, so if a deck wins a tournament, every one of those cards is going to triple in value. So if you can predict what deck's going to be played by the guy who's going to win, you buy them all low and you sell them all high after he wins. Right?
Jesus.
And so, those are the big three things of Magic is being a player
playing with cards.
Oh no, yeah, it's its own economy. Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Damn.
Yeah, and a lot of people make money exclusively off of buying and selling cards at the right time. And you just got to follow all the news of what's getting banned or restricted, what's won the last deck, what cards could beat that last deck that are cheap right now that will go up in price.
It's got the white border or the black border.
Yeah. Yeah, that usually tells you what age and what set it's in and how many times they're going to reprint it. And so, yeah, Magic's pretty nuts. And so I dabbled in all three of those. I'm definitely a deck builder more than a player finance guy. But my best finance win, it sounds like chump change compared to thousands of bucks. But I know an old card was about to get replayed. It was like this big, huge Titan. I bought 20 of them for $6 a piece. And I sold them all for $19 a piece 3 months later. Jeez. So, it's like a triple profit. I mean, it wasn't $10,000, but that was my only time I tried to do it. And I was like, had a huge success. And then I was like, okay, cool. I think I get it. But I never really put more money into it. But yeah, it's a lot of those kind of things. It's almost like the stock market mixed with like Craigslist flipping.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a lot of buying stuff cheap, hoping it gets valuable and selling it to the guy who wants it the most. Yeah. Magic is a crazy world. It's really its own ecosystem.
Damn.
My God, I'd say.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, neither did I. I just figured it was a bunch of dudes playing cards.
Yeah, and it's fun to fuck around on like your kitchen table, just playing for fun. But yeah, if you want to make money off it, there's a lot of ways to make money, but you got to be really ahead of the curve. And it's almost like there's a lot of like people doing lawsuits and stuff or like insider information about Magic cards of what's going to buy and sell, and people trying to dump markets and buy out all of one card so everybody has to buy from them. It's pretty interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot like the stock market. It's
had
gross.
No idea.
Yeah, it's a crazy world. I just like playing it, and I like thinking of all of the worst cards that they make that nobody wants, and I try to find a way to make them good and then sell that off to someone. So I'll just find what card nobody's playing, and then I'll play it and realize if it sucks ass or just nobody's using it, and then I try to make it good. And that's what we call jank, Jank, which is where you're getting a pile of shitty cards that all work together just well enough that you could win.
Wow.
And you're trying to think of something ridiculous, like I'm going to make infinite elephants on turn 4. That's something called jank, because you're going to have to use 8 or 10 random cards that nobody uses to make that work. Right? So that's my favorite thing is jank and graveyards.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So have you ever send anyone to the Shadow Realm? I know that question was asked earlier.
Yeah. I don't think that's a thing in Magic, but I appreciate the Yu-Gi-Oh puns. You know, I've never played Yu-Gi-Oh in my life, but I know that's where that's from. So, yeah,
well,
my nerd memory is quite keen.
Nice.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're a little bit after the top of the hour. For those of you who are in here, how many were in here right now? We've got
15.
What? 15.
We need 1,000.
Yeah, no kidding. We need a couple of likes, guys. Come on, bring in the likes. If you haven't liked the video, please do. This is entertaining as hell. It's making my head spin because, like I said, I thought it was just a bunch of dudes playing cards. Apparently, it's a whole nother beast. So
yeah, if you want to make money, you gotta dive in. That's like your 80-hour-a-week job, but you can make some good money off it if you put your time in.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Hey, you're not kidding.
So, guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this with somebody that you think would benefit from it, because I'll tell you, I almost want to start taking notes here. It's like,
Right.
Are you going to go play? No.
The financial possibilities.
No shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So if you want a side hustle, but that becomes your whole life in order to make the good money, Magic's for you.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Shit.
Yeah, most people just grind it out for 2 years and get nothing or make negative returns. But out of nowhere, it'll eventually just click either by playing it or the finance, and you'll start rolling in cash. Yeah.
Jesus.
Nice.
I just haven't had that time commitment, so I just make jank decks for fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, is that something you play every week? Do you do it once a month?
I play it specifically every 3 days.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
All right.
On purpose. Yeah.
Real deal.
Yeah. Every third day I play it. They have the online game to get more cards and sell more cards and stuff. Every day up to 3 days, they put stuff on the bottom on do this, this, and this today, and you'll make this much extra cash, right? Towards cards you can buy and sell and play with, kind of thing. And so they put out one a day, but they cap out on 3 days. So if you wait 4 days, you actually lose out on money. So I purposely let it sit 3 days so it maxes out, and I do all of it at once to make the cash. And it's just min-maxing my time investment to free money.
Jesus.
Yeah. But it's pretty nuts. It's this is kind of a transition, but it's actually interesting. Is Magic the Gathering actually made me a better counselor as well.
Really?
I do substance abuse casework and counseling. As my normal job right now, and it kind of goes into Magic the Gathering and 48 Laws of Power, like being able to control the flow of information and options is like playing your job on easy mode once you figure it out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, social work doesn't make good money, but it's pretty damn easy money if you know how to talk to people and read people.
Yeah.
Well, just knowing, I mean, you were talking about how knowledge is power. If you just understand the way the world works. A lot of jobs are so much easier because everyone else in your field is having to navigate their job while holding viewpoints that are contradict reality. So they have to actually do extra work to come up with explanations for things. Sort of like it's Occam's razor, right? The simplest, straightforward answer is the most likely the answer. But they got to come up with all these different reasons why it's not that, because they can't admit that. So it's far easier to just, if you know the truth, it's easy. You just say, yeah, that is the way it is, right? If you live in a society where you can't say the sky is blue and grass is green, you got to come up with all these different reasons why it isn't that way, or it's not supposed to be that way. You're gonna have to do more work than a guy who just goes, yeah, sky's blue, grass is green.
Yeah, you're increasing both your time investment and stress level. Right. By trying to justify your old plugged-in conditioning, right?
Right. I mean, I think that's the cause of so much of our mental illness in our society is people hold so many things that are not true and are constantly, continuously contradicted in their life experience. And they have to do all this rationalization and cognitive dissonance to deal with it. I mean, imagine believing that you're driving a nice car, you're making good money, you live in a good area. Imagine believing that you're oppressed and you live in a culture that hates you and you know, whatever. You have to be delusional. And if you're not naturally insane, you have to almost force yourself to be mentally ill to deal with it.
Yeah, you have to go through a lot of loopholes to try to justify your horrible beliefs. Right?
Yeah, and like I said to these guys before the chat, live stream, we live in an insane asylum, and we are the same people in the asylum. Everyone else is either one of the inmates, or sorry, the patients, or they're the orderlies. But either way, they are part of the system. And so if we're either dealing with people who are genuinely out of their minds or people who are going to enable those who are out of their minds. But the nuts have taken over the nut house, but we're stuck inside of it.
Yeah. So we're the orderlies in this one.
we're not the orderlies. The orderlies are doing the exact opposite. They're supposed to control the mentally ill. Instead, they enable them at best, right? Or we live in an even worse situation where the orderlies are the insane people telling the quote unquote sane people that they're mentally ill. And you either are a patient or you're a rebellious patient like us. We're claiming we're not insane. You're a lunatic and we're stuck in here with you, right? You're not stuck in here with us. We're stuck in here with you.
Yeah, it's that herd thing, or like the Pareto principle. It's probably 80-20. People living the grinding in the blue pill lifestyle versus those that are stuck in it, right? We're always going to be the minority if we're seeking truth and reality over conditioning.
Well, and think of how much, this is why I did the newsletter, which you all need to sign up for the newsletter. Sign up for it. Atham, TJ's Secret Admirer, go look that up. Because I talked about how you're going to be hated or at least disliked and ostracized in some way, in some form, at some point, because your existence is a contradiction of their worldview. So if you are a masculine geek and you exude masculine qualities, but you also are interested in geek stuff, that's going to, for a lot of people, it's like, wait a minute, you can be one or the other, but you can't be both. Yeah. And their egos are so fragile psychologically that if one of their perceptions of reality is damaged, they scramble because they are subconsciously aware of how tenuous their position is everywhere else. And they don't want to go there. So they're going to take it out on you and you're going to think, well, there's something wrong with me. No. There's nothing wrong with you. It's them. They're insane. They're idiots. They're self-deluding. They are deceitful with themselves. They lie to themselves and then they lie to you. So don't look at them and say that they are what was that?
That's my dog flipping his ears around.
Oh,
he's his own wind generation machine.
That sounds like I'm mixing paint.
Yeah, he's got a big head.
You're beating the devil out of the brush like Bob Ross.
Yeah, I wonder if I can get him up in the shot.
Yeah, get him up here.
I'll
try my best if he'll actually come up. Come on. There he
goes. You're a 140-pound dog. You don't. Oh, there he is. Jesus.
Holy shit.
Yep, and he's 1 year old. That's the crazy part.
Oh boy.
His name's Bowser. Yeah.
Nice. How big will he get?
I had a trainer come over that's a friend of mine, and she said he might get 190, 200 when he's full grown.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
He'll be a big boy.
It's no joke.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and he can definitely fit a face in that mouth.
Christ.
That is a good watchdog.
Yeah. You should hear his bark. It shakes the apartment.
I'm sure. Oh, shit.
All right, Dumbo. You're done.
I guess now he has to poop.
We'll see. Yeah, he'll lay right at my feet all the time, like always leaning and touching me 24/7. But when he hears something, it's go time.
Gotcha.
He wants to kill.
That's funny.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Very cool. What else? Are you working on anything at the moment? You mentioned you're dipping your feet in some other podcasts and some other things. There's anything that you personally are working on?
Right now it's moving into this place. The last month in August, I was living in two places at the same time, paying, double rent and mortgage
Twice
and
the
utilities
rent.
and all that shit, and that almost zeroed me out. But so now I'm officially in this place. I moved here because it is a 5-minute commute to work. It's 1.8 miles away,
Nice.
which is the
Very
best
cool.
feeling in the world, where I can literally wake up 10 minutes before my work starts and clock in. But yeah, so that's why I eventually moved here, because I freaking hate driving, and I've gotten in 2 wrecks from my old place to this job in 2 weeks because of how like shitty our highway system is here in Kansas City. So yeah, so this is a money saver, gas saver, and car wreck saver. So
Nice.
Sanity saver too.
yeah,
Yes,
so
seriously.
yeah. Once I get in here, I want to start making some more Red Pill and Religion content
Nice.
online, and I already do consulting, life coaching, counseling is my main job, so I'm also wanting to do it on the side as well for guys here. I think
Okay.
there's a lot of people that are struggling to see how like Red Pill and Religion can coexist, and I think it definitely can. If you watch me and Rolo's channel, it does. It's just you gotta not only do you have to unplug from the sexual marketplace Red Pill, but you also need to unplug from the evangelical Catholic Christianity Red Pill as well, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of set beliefs in there that aren't necessarily true. It's a lot of made up dogmas and cultural rules that don't exist anywhere in the scripture. So
Is there a link to that interview you did with Rollo? Do you have that?
yeah, I can look it up real quick.
If you want.
And also the other podcast, and I definitely got to shout them out. They're really good friends of mine. It's called 10K Rum.
Oh
RUM.
yeah, they started following us, and I think they follow both TJ and Rob as well.
Yeah, they're good personal friends of mine.
Okay.
I shoot the shit with them a lot, and I was on their show as a guest and a co-host a couple times when one of them's out. And we did a Red Pill and Religion episode, and we also did a futurism episode where we're talking about like what's going to happen first. AI takes over the world, or we're going to kill ourselves before we get there. So, which is definitely one of my favorite talks I've ever done.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Let's see if I can find that. Rollo Tomasi.
Yeah, you could throw that in the Twitter DM, and I'll throw it up in the feed for everybody.
And Sam Bada our man Sam Bada had a quick cameo, but we were having some technical issues, so it kind of just turned into me and Rollo for most of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you'll see him at the beginning.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a morning person either.
Yeah.
10K Rum. Yes, it is. Let me.
10K Rum podcast.
Yeah,
they do politics, religion, intersectional dynamics, the works. They're very libertarian. So if you want a good libertarian spin, they know way more about politics than I do. And their names are Amos Joseph and Brooke Potter, are the two main guys of the show, and I just come in and help whenever. So they're pretty cool guys.
check that out in there. Get into the chat, and then 10K Rum. Okay.
Am I about to get betrayed by the other Corey in the chat asking if I even lift? Did you not just see me lift 100? I just deadlifted a 146-pound dog. What are you talking about?
I was about to say, you just right.
That's the definition of gains.
Seriously.
But I actually I lifted a lot in high school, and I played football in high school. And then my senior year, I actually quit football to start jiu-jitsu and wrestling. And I love that significantly more. And I was like, fuck team sports forever. And ever since then, it's been kind of an off and on relationship with me and jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts and all that stuff. So, I just this new place I just moved to, literally 2 blocks down the street, it's less than a half mile away, is a strongman gym, with the tires and the Atlas stones and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And a big garage. So I'm definitely going to join in on that. I never got to do that before, but I'm very intrigued. So I think that'll definitely be that's like the epitome of man lifting in my opinion.
Right. That's cool. Everything
throwing
is
some rocks and tires around all day. Like, yeah, it makes barbells look like wuss's stuff.
Yeah, seriously.
I wonder if they also give me a kilt so I can throw a log, and play a bagpipe. That's what I always think of.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. So anything else? You mentioned some other geek pursuits that you do too. Now, do you do any online gaming other than the Magic the Gathering?
In my college days, I actually was a beta tester for a bunch of like Korean MMOs.
Oh, no shit.
There was this company called Area Games. It's like AERIA, and they made a lot of free to play with microtransaction MMOs. And I got in as a beta tester, so I would go play all of their closed beta and alpha games and write test notes and shit like that. So I played a lot of MMOs up to level 20, but of a lot of different kinds. And a lot of them were pretty fun, but a lot of them were very similar with just, different skins and themes.
Yeah.
The funnest one that I can remember, it was horror themed MMO, and it was called Memento Mori. Was the name of it. I doubt it's around. That was like 10, 15 years ago. So, but I was hardcore into that one. I'm very, very into virtual reality.
You did mention that.
Yeah. That's been my pet project for a couple years now. I own about $2,500 worth of VR gear. And,
wow.
Yeah. I really endorse that technology. To me, it's like the cryptocurrency of video games is how I put it. So the people who do Bitcoin have have hard-ons for Bitcoin. That's what I have for virtual reality. I'm definitely a soapbox preacher for it. Have you guys had any experience with virtual reality at all?
Have not, no.
Oh, I have a little bit. A friend of mine, he's got, I couldn't even tell you what his gear, his rig, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I have no idea. All I know is he brought home this tower and he's like, dude, put these goggles on and watch. And it was just like, okay. So he starts flipping through a bunch of different stuff. And it was like being in an aquarium with all kinds of marine life, and then out in space, and everywhere you looked, you're like floating in the stars.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
I even got a little bit of like vertigo. It was just like, holy shit,
Yeah, it's that thing, like when people have ear infections or ringing the ears and they have bad balance and they get car sick.
Yeah.
The same thing happens in VR.
Yeah.
Where all of your senses are telling you you're moving really fast, except your ears, which makes people throw up usually when they first try it. Especially high intensity games like racing or space sims.
Yeah, see, I never did anything like that. He just plugged me into the demo, and he's like, check this out, dude. And he took some pictures that I need to get from him of me wearing these VR goggles sitting on his floor because I had to sit down. Yeah. And it was just like, whoa. And so I'm just like,
yeah, it definitely feels like the future. It's kind of like, I don't know if we have any electric car haters in here, but the first time you ever drive a Tesla versus a normal car, like it feels like you're driving something 15 years in the future. Like it doesn't feel like that technology should exist yet. It should be in a sci-fi movie.
Well,
and that's really similar to VR.
Spooky,
yeah.
What's spooky and what's also, you were saying if people don't like electric cars, the reason people don't like it is because we like something. It's the same reason why somebody might prefer the aesthetics or the quality of a typewriter as opposed to a modern day laptop, because back then typewriters were pretty loud and they were assertive, and you'd walk into a room and it's full of noise and activity and life. And then you walk in now to an office and it's so, I mean, we're going to go to a highway where there's going to be no noise.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bunch of very quiet, because I have a person I know who drives a Tesla. The thing is, like, if you were going to go do a drive-by shooting, that's the car you take, because nobody's going to hear that coming up on the road.
Yeah, it's
not
like the lightest
I'm not recommending
little
that. I'm just saying, if you were going to do that, not recommending it. I disavow all violence for the most part.
One thing I do want to say from the limited experience I did have with VR, though, It got me thinking, because I kind of started looking into it a little bit at that time, right after he showed that to me. And then when I saw the price tag, I was kind of like, yeah, I can't justify that right now.
Yeah.
But what got me thinking about it was kind of like what we're doing right now, that there's going to come a point where, as the technology gets better, obviously it gets less expensive, it gets cheaper to buy, cheaper to use, easier to use. You don't have to, be some kind of a techno nerd to use it. You can just slap it in, plug and play, put it on and go. But is going to be instead of guys watching us on their YouTube channel, on their phone or whatever it is, it's the VR goggles where you're now it's you're in that room with the guys, and whatever avatar you're choosing. Me, I'm thinking, well, fuck, I want to just be me. So throw me in there, throw my face in there. That way guys know it's me. But it's, instead of us sitting around talking to each other, talking to, as I like to say, shouting at computer screens, it's going to be these VR systems where you're now in the system with each other, having this very chat that we're having right now.
Yeah, you're sitting in a room together.
Cool.
And we're almost there. This is one of the coolest things ever. I wish I got to be a part of it, but I watched it through somebody else's live feed, a friend of mine, to get invited to it. But there's a game, and it's completely free, called Rec Room. And the only way to explain it, it's Minecraft mixed with Wii Sports.
Nice.
Is how I'd put it. It's completely free. It's cross-platform, from PC to mobile VR to PlayStation VR, and all of those put together. And they're actually updating it for phones now, where like you could actually just play on a tablet or a phone as well, not in VR. And so they're making everything cross-platform possible. PlayStation, Xbox, PC, phone, so everybody can play together. And it has a big section where you can play paintball, laser tag, charades, all that stuff. But then they have the Minecraft type mode where you can build anything you can imagine. You can shape it, you can draw it, all in full 3D VR. And what they did that was such a milestone, I think it got in the Guinness Book of Records. 10 people invited a couple hundred people. They built a stadium in the Minecraft mode. And they had a stage, and they did an entire play of The Princess Bride live as an actual theater production, completely in VR, both the characters and the audience. And it was probably one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
Yeah. And so and they would have like interludes where people would talk and hang out, and the stage people would rebuild the next stage for the next set. When they're on the cliffs, and when they're on the the Cliffs of Insanity, I think is what it was called, where the Princess Bride's coming up to fight the Andre the Giant. They did the full movie in a full play format, live in person for a couple hundred people. And there was like 10 actors memorizing roles, doing stagehand stuff, fully in VR. It was nuts. Yeah. That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. And
that is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and they had invite only, so they had a bunch of game developers, and all of those people would come in. All the big famous YouTubers that do VR were all invited, and that's how you got to see a lot of the stuff was through their channels. But the fact that somebody made that on their own, that was all just people who played VR. That wasn't even the developers. You know what I mean? And we're coming into an era of VR that's so sandbox that you really can build whatever you want. You know what I mean? If somebody can make an entire hour and a half play of The Princess Bride on their own using full VR technology and having a full VR audience of VIP only access, you kind of do whatever the hell you want. You know what I mean? To me, that alone broke open the floodgates of what VR can and can't do.
That's insane, crazy world building.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's crazy because when you're in the Minecraft road, you're in a big open field, and they built a stadium with a stage, with set props, with all of the chairs and seating for all the developers to get invited in and stuff. Wow. It was freaking nuts. It was literally a made from scratch play in VR for VR. Yeah, and it was just freaking nuts, man. Damn. Yeah, the scale of that. And then what you're talking about, Rob, me and a friend of mine actually used this. There's a app called Big Screen, and it's a social get together. It's like a simulated living room, and you can invite a bunch of friends in, and you can sit and chat like this And what they do is they call it big screen because in the center is a giant movie theater size screen, and you can put whatever the hell you want on there.
Oh,
and
nice.
I actually watched the show Preacher. Have you guys ever seen Preacher?
Heard
it's
of
one
it.
of the best TV shows. It's based on a DC comic. By the way,
Oh,
one of
that's
the
right.
best,
Yeah.
one of the best TV shows I've ever seen in my life. But me and my friend binge watched that in our separate homes 30 miles apart through big screen in VR.
Oh, wow.
And so we would sit and hang out once or twice a week, binge watch a couple episodes and chat in VR on digital couches watching
Holy
a giant
no
movie theater
shit.
screen. Yeah. It's freaking nuts, man.
So you basically see your avatar sitting there.
Yeah. Just like
Wow.
you would in any other thing. You know, like it's just like a fancier version of like, you know, remember the old Wii Sports games?
Yeah.
Hey, Cappy. Is that
No,
Cappy?
continue on. I was listening. No, I don't want to interrupt.
Okay.
No, seriously. By all means. Fuck me.
What's he doing
Go
here?
on. I want to hear.
What is this? What is this?
You want to hear more about
What's
VR?
this clown with the Hawaiian shirt?
Clown.
TJ, for once in your life, be brief and let somebody else speak. Let him continue. I was actually genuinely interested in what he had to say,
Yeah.
unlike you.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
talking about because Conk was just sitting in in a VR studio, as it were, with his friend, and they were binge watching Preacher.
Yeah, the TV show Preacher.
That's
And
really
I was talking
cool.
about how far VR has come. And they actually now, the first thing, there's one called Oculus Quest. And it's
I've heard
the
about
first,
that, yeah.
Yeah, it's the first full plug and play VR. It's its own independent console. You don't have to plug it into a TV. You don't have to plug it into a computer. You put it on and it just works. The downside is the battery life is like 2 or 3 hours before you have to plug it in again, which is one of the things you do with, because it's literally just ski mask goggles. You can't put that much battery and hardware in it.
That's
But
true.
it's full room scale 3D, you know, where you can physically move and turn and walk around your house because there's no wires. It has 2 controllers that are folded off of your hands, and they Bluetooth connect to the main headset. And you can walk around your house. You can go do whatever you want. Like in those world building apps, you can build a world that scales 1-to-1 to your apartment, and you can walk around your apartment in VR completely fine. Like it's pretty freaking nuts. Yeah, the technology is getting pretty damn fast, getting really far really fast. And the crazy thing is that thing is, I think, $399. That's it.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah. When VR first came out, it was like $1,200 for a headset, and you needed like a $2,000 gaming tower to even get it to run, right? And now they've got it expanded down into a $400 headset that anybody can buy, and it just works as soon as you turn it on. So
It doesn't. Sorry, I came in so late, but this doesn't require a PC. Like it's all
no, yeah.
self-contained.
So yeah. So Oculus has what they call the Rift, which is the big, high, fancy graphics plug into a gaming computer. But they created the Quest, which has almost all the same games, but with slightly worse graphics, and it's all completely internal. And it's just basically a mix of the highest level mobile processors and the most space they can fit in, like laptop processors as well. It's like a mix between mobile and laptop. And so it'll play almost any game you can, but it'll be like PS3 graphics instead of PS4 graphics, right? So
I can't tell the difference. My eyesight's going.
yeah, most people can't, and so that's why I like it. But yeah, I haven't gotten that yet, but I'm definitely getting one soon. I want to try that. Right now, I have the Rift that plugs into the gaming computer, and I also have the PlayStation version.
Well,
as
Cappy,
well.
they will have technology where even old people can enjoy this stuff.
What?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. What you kids saying?
Jesus.
Do you
Anyway,
turn it
yes.
off and turn it on again? Where do I blow in it? Do I?
Yeah, right.
This has got a 14.4K
Wait.
modem.
I have to ask our guest. Who is our guest? No one ever introduced
Our
us.
guest.
formally.
Well, you were just
Funny
kinda
you
like
mentioned that.
Yes, our guest is Conk.
Conk, with that reference, have you watched the IT Crowd then?
I wish. I haven't watched like a good amount of TV outside of very specific binge shows in a long time.
Okay,
kinda
so then
unplugged
turn it
myself
on,
from
turn it
TV.
off again. That was literally you. You didn't know the cultural reference to it.
No.
Okay, never mind. I'll
No.
be quiet and go back.
Am
to
I
my
now a
corner.
comedic genius? Can I write my
No,
own
no,
sitcom?
but you accidentally probably just like, oh my god, he said the thing in the
Oh,
first.
no. Yeah. You know, that's just my comedic repertoire. to use
There you
fancy
go.
words.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, but yeah, I haven't watched TV like since like 2012. I think I was forced at that time to not be able to watch TV because of my living situations, and then I'm like, oh, let's see how long I can go, like not owning a TV. But now I own, $2,000 worth of VR equipment, so I don't know if that counts or not. It's a bunch of tiny TVs for your eyes.
Yeah.
Do you miss
pretty
it
much.
at all? I mean, like, I mean, you're still alive and kicking.
Yeah, my kicks aren't as high though. I can only kick like 4 feet instead of 6 feet, but it's up there. It works. Yeah, I just I kind of unplugged from the media and unplugged from whatever's on Fox and ABC and NBC coming this fall. I just got rid of all of that kind of stuff. So I just wasn't interested. I'm actually doing the same thing with alcohol right now, which is definitely a lot harder, but I'm doing good. I think my last drink was January 18th.
Oh,
Wow.
I had White Russians
Wow,
with my
that's
friend
fourth.
watching the Big Lebowski. And
I
then I
didn't quite
realized
last that
after a
long.
month or two, I didn't drink anything. And I'm like, I'm going to see how long I can go. So, yeah, January 18th was my last hard beverage.
I've been
Keep
off. I've been off, but as you know, no, it's
You've been
just,
off
I'm
the
sorry,
sober
but-
wagon.
I've
No,
been
no,
having
I've-
sober way for like 43 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Cappy, go get your booster seat and let these guys talk. No, yeah, but it's like I'm saying, when you're stuck in the insane asylum, either you got to get out or you got to get something to deal with. And so, I mean, our ancestors would have done far worse things than just have a drink, right? They were dealing with this. So I figured that this is a good, but yeah, it's a good idea. Guys, if you're boozing too much, knock it off. So.
Yeah. Christian, you always got to start somewhere, man. Good job on those 2 hours.
I'm trying to stretch that out a little bit. You got to create a set of rules. Like you only have so many drinks, or you don't drink. You only drink socially, or blah 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 blah. And then you have a list of things that you will make an exception for. Like you hear something that's so screwed up that your natural desire is to start World War III.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay.
Definitely on my to-do list, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. All right, cool. So VR is playing a large part of your.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I have a weird philosophy of like I simultaneously hate, and this is something Cappy we might want to talk about too, but because I know you did videos on Ted Kaczynski.
Yeah, because I was paid to, not because I wanted to.
Okay.
Matter of fact, all your mothers are paying me to hang out with you assholes. I wouldn't really have anything.
Jesus.
TJ's mom, of course, paying the most. She's just like, oh God, hang out with the kid, give him some vindication and
Cappy,
purpose.
you clearly don't know my mother. She would have paid you to stay away from me.
I would have, dude. I would love to meet your mother, and not in that kind of way, but I would absolutely love to meet, Mrs. Martinell. I think she'd be just a charming, wonderful woman.
Yeah.
And it really hurts me to say this. If they brought you up, I would love to meet Mr. and Mrs. Martinell. I think they'd be very charming people indeed. For bringing up a gay son.
But spoiler alert, they're also in
did he have trouble in middle school? Did he know which team to bat for? Whatever. I'm sorry. Continue.
Hey, I grew up in Seattle. I grew up in Seattle.
Interrupt our guest.
Too late, Aaron. You've already interrupted. It's okay.
It's so derailed that now we're just going backwards.
Yeah.
At this point.
I'm sorry.
What 180 on the
there was a legitimate question somebody had at one time at the point. I'm sorry. Continue on.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Well, I think what this all started from was I was born a young, poor black child, right? And and I hate cans.
Jesus Christ.
And I thought it'd be boring tonight.
Oh no! But I have this weird philosophy where I simultaneously love technology as it is, but I do have some of those Ted Kaczynski feels of like terrified of where technology is going.
Yeah.
Does that make
You're
sense?
a bit of a Luddite as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to do, because I freaking love VR. I love all of that's going in. I love electric cars and electric vehicles. I think they're all super awesome.
Until someone hacks your car and drives it off the fucking road.
All that kind of shit. So it's a weird dichotomy of myself between wanting to be a hermit in the woods while also wanting all the cool new gadgets.
Yeah. Well,
Is it more
well-
like kind of a concern, like, not to get really dark, but like Nazism? Hey, let's all wear the same uniforms because you cannot deny the German efficiency, which is actually a misnomer because they're horrifically inefficient with all their concrete. But that's another thing if you want to look up a documentary. But are you worried that AI?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's going out into left field.
No. I'm just saying. Look up. Like everyone thinks the Germans were totally efficient in
Have
some
them look that
capacities. They were.
Hey, Cappy, what part
Yeah.
of socialist in National Socialist?
I
got
agree.
missed.
I've written
National
more about it
Social-
recently. I agree.
DJ's written more about it than you've been alive.
But by
Hey,
definition,
did you know socialists were inefficient? Yeah,
by
I did.
definition, you just
Thank
disagreed
you.
with me, so therefore you're a Nazi. So how could
Yeah.
you?
Okay. So now that I'm a Nazi,
I just
I
gotta
have
put it
to
out there.
slice
That's what
off
I
a
mean.
quarter of myself here. Anyway, fuck. What was my questioning?
fucking
Goddamn
shirt.
Do you
point.
even remember what the hell you were saying?
No, I don't. I don't.
Being afraid of AI and Nazis. That's what I
Oh,
remember.
hang on. It's coming back to me. Are you really that worried, given the past track record of human progress? Like, oh my God, the horses are gone. We got one of these dang automobile contraptions coming on.
Yes, actually.
You are okay.
Yeah.
Tolkien said nothing wrong on that.
Well, I think
So-
how
Let
I
him
put it
speak.
is we live in a Jurassic Park, where we keep thinking about if we could, we don't think about if we should. And I feel like that applies a lot to of our modern science and technology. Like cars are cool because now we can go way farther than we ever could before. But now we're all sedentary and dying. You know what I mean? And that's where I think Kaczynski had some of his points. Was talking about like my origin story. Boy, I can get to that, but it involves a dark and sexy night.
They all should.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't necessarily disagreeing because someone paid me to do the Ted Kaczynski manifesto, and I had to read. Actually, I listened to it. Somebody, thank God, put it on you, so I didn't have to read.
Oh yeah, you read it. Yeah,
I listened to it because
Aaron-
otherwise it would have been.
Aaron's not a big reader.
Yeah,
He
you
can
listen to it
read
on double
good.
speed.
You don't have a choice but to read. Everything's written. Like you see signs and the
I know it's
coupons.
hard.
It's so
I know.
God damn it, if
horrible.
only
It's
we
It's
so
had
not
horrible.
hard. You don't
Signs
have
that
a
were
choice.
audible.
Robert.
I mean, my God,
Robert.
even I won't go there. I was about to say, even a group of people can read because you don't have a choice. You can text, you can type.
You can't read good. That's the problem.
But damn it, now I lost my goddamn you assholes.
Cards are bad.
He's lost his train of thought like a bomber over
We
Berlin
should
in
have invented the train in the
1943.
first place. That's what
Why
I'm
do
saying.
I
The
think I'm
Industrial
in an
Revolution.
episode with Andy Griffith when TJ's in town?
Cappy, you look like the honeymooners
bullet
in
in the
Hawaii
shirt.
or whatever. It's like you got the Hawaiian shirt. It's like it reminds me of that line from Pearl Harbor. Just leave your damn hula shirts at home, boys.
He looks like you're on the set of Three's Company.
TJ just, come on, knock on our door.
Da-da-da-da-da.
We've been waiting for you.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Never
Okay,
mind.
let's
Go
get
off on
back
Ted
on
Kaczynski
track here.
again. I forgot what
Exactly.
my point was. There was something about with Ted Kaczynski where I was going to say, like, yeah, he was totally logical until he got to the point, like, and the solution is to murder people in the media. I'm like,
Yeah, I'm definitely
Yeah,
not
it's
down
kinda-
with that. I think
Yeah.
he wasn't thinking enough outside the box. It was
he
weird. He did
wasn't thinking enough outside the box.
his whole thing was outside the box, but then he turned it almost into a binary yes/no overthrow. Right?
If you agree with me,
That's what he
you bomb
even
people. If
though
you don't agree
the
with
other
me, you
networks
protest.
had nothing to do with that. And so, I don't know. I think that's where his kookiness and his MK Ultra kind of snuck in.
That's the problem. Is
Go ahead, TJ.
people who point out a lot of the insanities in the world are usually themselves slightly mentally unhinged because you have to be. Because if you
usually-
aren't, there's a natural desire among normal, sane people to fit in with the majority of their own kind, like humans, right? So the amount of nonsense that they will tolerate in order to fit in is unfortunately a lot. So it's always going to be the outliers who are going to point out the absurdities because they don't care if they lose social status because they're insane. Whereas the normal people who are sane have that natural desire to maintain social status. Problem is, as I've said, we've now reached the situation where if you aren't agreeing with some of what this guy said, you're the insane one, not him. He was off his rocker, but at the same time, I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, there's such a fine line between madness and creativity and genius. You know what I mean? They're all very well interconnected.
Well, that was like that line from Elliot from Tomorrow Never Dies. He says, the difference between genius and insanity is measured only by success. So if Ted Kaczynski had been successful, he'd be considered a genius. Not saying it would have been morally correct because it wasn't, but there's the difference between a genius and someone who's insane is merely in what did they accomplish?
Yeah. Or what were they allowed to accomplish? Because think of how many people were probably geniuses, thought of some crazy stuff compared to the societal norm, and they get like excommunicated or killed for it. Right?
Sure, burned at the stake or whatever back in the day.
Hey guys, the Earth revolves around the sun.
Yeah, he didn't succeed too well.
No one expects.
Out of here.
Well, no, but there's a reason why. There's a reason why in A Brave New World, John the Savage hangs himself because he's the only sane person in a completely lunatic society. You know, where he's the only person. I'm not recommending that, guys. Just for all of you, seek help if you struggle with that sort of thing.
Thank you, TJ, for that public service announcement.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to that because that's something I do. I might just be actual psycho here, but I start, reading all of these texts and stuff that you're not supposed to read. And when I'm trying to point pro and cons for them, and I start realizing like, what's the book I'm going to read that's going to make me freak out and be a loon or like be a serial killer or be something crazy? You know what I mean? How close am I to that when I constantly search out, fringe topics? Because that's what a lot of red pill is, right? It's a lot of fringe stuff that the stream doesn't want you to read.
Well, let me ask you this: ask yourself the opposite question. What if you're not somebody who searches that out? And that's kind of the fate that I want to avoid. Like, aren't you the only sane person? I mean, we can always say sanity, unfortunately, is defined by what's popular or what the mean or the median is. But God Almighty, you're pissing away your life being a normie and a conformie. You're actually asking somewhat of the dark question. Like, anytime you bring up Ted Kaczynski, oh my God, everyone dismisses it. But the guy had some poignant points. You can even say that about Nazism or Stalin or any one of the other gross, detestable type of ideologies. But no, it's absolutely true. Like, when you ask some question, it just seems to me life gets a little bit more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think is also a really big point is like the left is evil and the right is stupid. That was probably one of my favorite parts. Yeah.
Yes. You're not wrong.
Well, you know what it is? It's really, it comes down to the psychology where you have the person who's dominant and the person who's submissive. And ideologically, that's not important, right? It's not important. That's irrelevant almost. So that's why, as I was explaining earlier, you find yourself, if you're of right-wing ideology, dealing with people who claim to be on your side, but when they see you asserting yourselves in a courageous manner, they freak out. When they see you fighting, they hate you more than the people that they claim to be fighting because you make them, they're losers and they're cowards and they're ashamed by your actions.
Well, I mean, if right equals conservative, isn't like the definition of conservative, don't rock the boat, right?
Conservative, no, I wouldn't even say that. Conservative is just be 5 minutes behind the progressive. You're the anchor. They're the ship. Wherever progressives go, you remember that scene from The Great Escape where Steve McQueen is with the Scottish guy and his plan is to dig underneath the camp. He scoops the dirt and the other guy stashes it behind him, right? The Scottish guy. Well, Steve McQueen's the progressive who digs the dirt and is making progress, and the Scottish guy is the conservative stashing it behind him and calling that conserving the dirt, right? They're moving forward, but the conservative keeps moving the goalpost of what they're conserving. So 50 years ago, they were conserving something completely different. I mean, we got to the point where a gay British guy named Milo was considered to be conservative. We've got to the point where somebody who would be completely on the left, the far left 30 years ago, is now considered a far right extremist today. And it's all, they haven't changed their views. They didn't change their views. That was the problem. If you're a progressive, things keep changing. But a long time ago, the psychology was, if you're a progressive, you've got to be dominant. If you are the conservative, you're submissive. It explains
why
frankly,
Tyrone is banging all the white chicks, I guess.
Yeah, you leave him and his wife's son alone.
Oh my God.
No, I'm just saying, like you see that everywhere, where you see men who claim, and Aaron's written all about this or talked all about this.
I have. Stuff. I haven't. What? No.
I'm really curious. You talked about all these
amazing. It's
men.
amazing how many people know what I've written.
You fucking
loud noises. I don't know what we're yelling about.
All right, go on, T. What did I write about? Because I'm curious myself. What did I write about?
Conservative men who claim to champion all these values, like that radio show host, and yet in their personal lives, they are total cowards. They're cowards.
Cocks. Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I'm sorry, TJ. I didn't mean to, but yeah, no, you're 100%.
You are forgiven.
Thank you.
Thank God for that.
Here's some holy water.
Jeez. All right, it's you guys have devolved everything now. Let's get back to our guest. Okay, let's get back to Conk. TJ's over here being brief, and Aaron's
there was a purpose to this.
Yes, and Aaron's over here blinding everyone with his shirt and forgetting shit.
I know.
Well, I could take it off.
No. I
will pay you to button up more.
Boom.
How do we block this?
Right. I'm sorry. Sorry, Conk. I did not mean to rant. I just came in. I didn't know.
No, it's okay.
I'll even mute myself.
We said a lot of what you said. I am interested in, Cabby, if you have any experience with Rollo Tomasi's written his book on it, and then we've had a couple more discussions about it on some of the other Red Pill podcasts about Red Pill and religion. Have you really done any deep dives into that?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've read the occasional Dalrock, but Rollo hasn't come out with his book yet. It's not published yet, is it?
No, he's still editing.
It was originally going to be October, but there's been some poop being thrown around, so it's probably going to be longer than that. But
as with anything with Rollo, I would be very intellectually interested in it. I don't. I've kind of made my peace, if not permanent war, with religion. I bought out the domain name to wisconsynod.org, net and com. I detest religion with all my might. But there is nonetheless a still legitimate place religion plays in the role of philosophy, and you got to face the afterlife. So I think it's what do they call it, the God pill. I think the God pill plays a very strategic role. But I think the way that Rollo's going with it is just how corrupted traditional religions across all the religions has been, compromised.
Yeah, I know
feminism and politics. So I don't know anything about it. That's probably one of the few books I would actually read, long as it's an audiobook. But yeah, no, I have no opinion about it. But Rollo's going to hit it out of the park. Rollo's no dumbass. I have complete faith in him.
Yeah, it's a lot about how most of our talks specifically are about evangelical Christianity, because that's my background of trying to kick that in the nuts whenever I can. But it's a lot about how the female imperative and that blue pill beta conditioning of the Disneyland one-itis, and how much that is entwined with Protestantism and evangelical Christianity today.
But are you a practicing Christian, or are you particularly vested in religion, or what?
Yeah, we did a little bit of my background earlier. I'm a former pastor, and then I moved to Christian social work, and then I moved to secular social work, and I kind of cut myself up from organized religion, so to speak. But a lot of what we talked about is the church itself, especially today and most throughout history, is very blue-pilled in nature. It's a lot about, that control aspect and trying to get things going. But a lot of the fundamentals of rational male and red pill thought are actually supported by most of the Bible. It's kind of the talk that Rolo and I have is like the Bible is much more red pilled than the church that's saying it's following the Bible.
Well,
right?
I wouldn't even say the Bible, but the Quran and the Talmud. I mean, it's taking my secular approach to it. It would be just common sense and wisdom passed down through religious scripts.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I absolutely. But what got you out of the church? Unless this has been covered before, but are you no longer a practicing pastor or what?
Oh no, I went from, so I worked in the church and I realized I hated it. It's very, so, a lot of religious organizations don't have to report stuff to the government. And so
Right.
they get away with a lot of shitty employee practices.
Right.
They'll work you like a slave for nickels. I used to work 80-hour work weeks for $3 an hour. And it was technically illegal, but they couldn't do anything about it because the government has no records of their employees and stuff. So because it's a religious organization. So yeah, I used to do 24-hour shifts and 16-hour shifts like 4 or 5 times a week for one of my jobs I worked at. And it was pretty nuts. And they purposefully hire people fresh out of high school or college with no work experience. So they don't realize what they're not getting.
or street smarts apparently too.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
They take people with no work experience so that they don't have anything to compare their conditions to. Right? They go, "Oh, you're being a good Christian servant. You're sacrificing for the ministry. We love you. Here's $3 an hour for an 80-hour work week." Right? And so, if you even worked at McDonald's, that's a freaking, paradise compared to what what they were having you work in. So they actively picked people with no work experience that were super young and wouldn't know any better.
What did you come from a particular religious background? Like, were you a particular faith when you were younger?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty funny story. I grew up in like Southern Baptist, like it's the devil if the girls wears pants, like kind of religion.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I started from, and a lot of my family is from. But when I got into high school, I learned about science and technology, and I was like, wow, this is way cooler. Like, fuck all the religion stuff. I like all of this a lot better. So I was like kind of atheist, but I wasn't like, promoting or any of that kind of stuff. I was just like, this stuff's cooler. And then my freshman year of college, I went to community college because I was at least smart enough to save my money to get the same shitty education. So that was good. That's one of the few times my laziness played out in my favor. Because I went to one of those fancy preparatory high schools. So community college was actually equivalent to like my 8th grade education. It was great. It was like taking 8th grade math all over again because it was a lot of like the dumb kids.
Well, they got to dumb it down for the normal population, right?
Yeah, and so I went to college prep high school, and then I purposely went to like the worst, cheapest, closest community college I could, and it was just like a free ride for 2 years. But during that time, I moved to a little tiny city called Berthoud. It was like 1 square mile and was like 4,000 people maybe. They're all just tight knit there, and it was all just high school kids and old people, and they had a bunch of weed dispensaries because this was in Colorado.
Wait,
it was
what town is this? Hang on. What town?
It's called Berthoud.
Berthoud?
Yeah, Berthoud.
Berthoud.
Yeah, and at the time, it was a 1 square mile place, and it had 2 gas stations and 2 weed dispensaries. Like that's all that was on the street, really.
Oh, you're in between Longmont and Loveland. I know that area well.
Yeah, I went to high school in Longmont. It's called Longmont Christian School. It's like this private college prep school. But yeah, and I have some crazy stories about Loveland. I used to work at a sex offender house. It was crazy. I got some Law and Order SVU stories from there.
TJ visit frequently?
TJ visit frequently.
I'm just saying.
Jesus.
Abby, I'm gonna pull all sorts of pranks on you when you get over.
You know, you have no idea what I have in store.
I'll take away your
TJ.
booster, Steve.
You have no idea. And the only problem is the U.S. Postal Service is being very obstructionist with the ideas I have. So,
did you happen to get these ideas after reading Ted Kaczynski's book?
No, these are Clary originals, TJ. But I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, continue.
Oh no, it's good. I think what was it? So yeah, I moved to that tiny town with a bunch of weed dispensaries, and the Mormons started knocking on our door. And so like I didn't consider myself a Christian or believe in anything, and I thought Christianity was wrong, but I knew Mormons were super wrong. So I decided to invite them in every week and have debates with them in my living room while they petted my St. Bernard because they loved it. And we would sit there and we'd drink ice water because they can't have coffee, which is normal customary. And so we'd sit there, drink water, hang out with my St. Bernard, and I would just debate them about everything they believe. And every time they'd come over, they bring a new elder of their church over and over and over again. Because most of them were 18-year-olds. Like they're the missionaries of Mormonism. They're like 18, 19-year-olds fresh out of high school riding bikes with their name tags,
Right.
So they didn't know jack crap. And so they would bring elders coming in to debate me over and over again. And so in order to study the Book of Mormon, I also had to study the Bible again. And through those conversations, so completely out of spite, that's when I started reading the Bible for my own with no context whatsoever of what the church was trying to tell me or anything like that. And that's where I realized I liked it and I stuck with it and I started going through it that way. And so I would reconsider myself a Christian again, but I'm very unplugged from. I understand church culture and I work in it, but I have no identity claims to it at all.
But
I do not trust. Did
you go through like formal seminary or anything, or no?
Yeah, my bachelor's was in theology and religion, which
in divinity or whatever.
Shit,
okay. So then you could be a pastor. Yeah,
and I started my master's in Christian psychology and counseling, and then I quit it because I realized it was a waste of money. So, yeah, and that was in a seminary, and I did 2 semesters, and I realized like it wasn't worth the debt. So, it was.
They might have a job for you.
Good.
No.
I talked to TJ and Mr. Clean over there.
I know where Aaron's going with this. He's fishing.
Just money for me. Just money. And saving souls.
Saving
souls.
Run away.
Don't they need to have the soul in order to save it, though? That's what I was trying to figure out.
Boy, you're more right about that than you know. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they sold it for some Ritz and some Cheez-Its. Come on.
Yeah.
But I'm actually currently a substance abuse social worker, and I do counseling, I do group therapy, I do one-on-one, basically caseworker, social support. I'm basically a traveling counselor, but they're not allowed to legally call me a counselor. But I do more work than the counselors. So
wait, are you on the road? You just travel town to town like Johnny Appleseed?
I do outpatient therapy, which is where I drive to their houses or I meet them at offices, or like half the time I just meet them at like a Starbucks or McDonald's and we do our therapy session right there. So I don't have an office. I have a work laptop or a work phone, and I just meet them wherever they are in the community. And
dude, you're like Nicholas Wolfwood. You ever pay attention to Trigun to bring it back to geekery? You ever watch Trigun?
Oh no, I know it exists, but I've not watched it.
Any of you guys watch Trigun?
I know of it, but I haven't seen it.
I know of it. I'm strictly like a Dragon Ball Z, and then I never.
Wait a minute. Here's an important question.
Akira was good. That's
Akira. Yes, absolutely.
That's one of my.
Now here's an important question that Aaron will also be appreciative of. Have you seen Cowboy Bebop?
I think I watched the movie when it came out, but I never watched the show.
That's something.
Yeah, that's more than most. Yeah, you get a D.
I think it was one of those late nights, watching it after midnight, like at Blockbuster, and then probably fell asleep 2/3 of the way through. God, I feel like that's what happened in like high school, college.
I'll bring that down with us to Village by the Sea.
Is the one with the crazy theme song, right?
Yeah, the crazy theme song. Yeah.
All right. You weren't appreciative of my comment.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Look, I won't lie. I ain't going to go to church because I don't believe there's a God, but Cowboy Bebop almost is enough to make me want to go to church, because that doesn't happen on its own. It's so beautiful. It's so precise. It's so good.
And the music is very
the music, everything. Yeah. It's that good. It would almost make me believe there's a God, because it's like that wouldn't happen normally without divine intervention. That wouldn't happen, but that's all right. Our geek pastor here has never seen it. That's okay.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I'll make you a deal. Let's all buy Oculus Quest and we'll watch it on the big screen app, and we'll all
there you go
chill on our digital couches and binge watch Cowboy Bebop. How about that?
We can do that. That'd be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, it's completely possible. Everyone just got to fork in $400, and I'll make it happen.
Has everybody else seen Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah, I own it.
You
I do
own
want
it,
to
Rob? Have
answer
you
Safety
seen it?
Doc's question
No.
when we get the chance.
TJ, have you seen it?
Are you serious?
Well, I don't know. You were talking about it a hand or two.
Talked
Oh my
about it for like
God.
an hour and a half one night.
Was it on your podcast?
No, it was on. Oh my God, this dude.
He's seen
Okay,
it. I'm bringing it with us though. It's coming down.
He's
He's messing with you.
I'm not messing. Who would mess with TJ? He's such a staunch old savage man. Who would ever mess with that young man?
Gee, I wonder, Aaron. Oh God!
You guys mind if I answer Safety Doc's question?
Absolutely.
So it says, Conk, the important work. Thanks, man. Oh, you're welcome. Do you have substance abuse issues? I'm your man. How do you help people find agency and purpose? And this is one of my favorite things of all time. And it kind of goes back because we had a big spiel about power and options and knowledge and money. And I purposefully try to use car salesman tactics as therapy, where I have to sell them instead of a car. I am selling them that they want to change. And it's its own little sweet science. But you'd be surprised how much car salesman tactics apply to therapy. You basically have to help them change and make them look like it's their idea. And I could do a whole 2 hours on that, but I don't think anybody wants that right now.
I'm just this. You're like the traveling pastor. I mean, you've
yeah.
never seen Trigun. You don't know who Nicholas Wolfwood is.
I know Trigun exists, and he has blonde hair and glasses and a giant
right. But
cross.
his main character is a traveling pastor who looks out for little children, and he's a gunslinger. I mean, he has a crucifix that he rides on the motorcycle with. You're like the guy. This would be, you have to watch it if you don't know what.
Motorcycle not included though.
Well, yeah, but you
on
can
it.
get one. It's amazing. No, but you travel across the country just visiting people in person.
Well, I travel across Missouri specifically. I do Kansas City and all of the small towns south of it is my main hub. But yeah, I have one central base in a little town called Raymore, Missouri, and I get everybody around there within like a 30-mile radius.
Okay, so you're a traveling pastor, sort of.
Essentially, but it's secular work. It's a secular mainstream company.
Okay.
So I can't talk about religion unless they bring it up. Otherwise, they can like sue me and shit. But
okay.
So you're affiliated with a particular company or group or something?
Yeah, it's essentially like an independent contractor, like you would with like an Uber driver or like a DoorDash driver. It's almost like that, where you're technically working for this company, but like you see your boss maybe once a month, and everything else is do the work on your own terms, on your own time, and as long as you clock in 40 hours at the end of the week and you can prove with documentation you did something, they don't care. So.
Oh God, you have to look up Nicholas Wolfwood. Oh my God, you're like a larger, more portly version of him. He's a little bit more sexy than you, but you gotta. Oh my God.
Hey man, I could still pop my pecs. You don't know. That gets all the ladies. That's a real panty dropper.
No, it's just really cool, because the problem I've faced with religion, aside from the fact that I hate it, is that it's the message, and now you have the internet to pass on that message, and you're willing to go and visit people in person and be a traveling salesman of sorts.
Yeah.
But whereas the old guard is like, no, it needs to be in this church. It needs to be in this physical facility. And since you're willing to go out, I mean, and actually be mobile, I think you're going to reach a hell of a lot more people than like, no, you come here every Sunday at 6 a.m. and late service is 8 a.m. No, I just think it's brilliant.
Nobody got time for that. Yeah.
No, nobody does. Exactly. You're actually bringing it to them. You're exactly as you said, the Uber of Christianity.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. My main focus right now, almost all my clients are like fresh out of jail for substance abuse. And that's kind of my main clientele. My main guy I'm working with, I did today. I can't give any details. But side note, this is the best part of the job. I have access to a database where I have 35,000 people on it that are enrolled in services, and I can look up their birthdays, their mother's maiden name, their social security numbers. I can have access to any of that. That's all confidential information. So that makes me feel cool. And so, when the chicks ask you what's your job, I'm allowed to say it's confidential. I can't tell you.
That's true. You're like a spy.
That's one of the good sides of working in the mental health field. But
the James Bond of the mental health field.
Yeah, the most recent guy I'm working with, to be relatively vague, he's fresh out of jail for possession with intent to sell meth for a good chunk of change, and now I'm helping him fix his life while still getting clean, while still fixing the probation officers, and actually helping him find a mission. And one of my things is Simba is the analogy I use, which is the system is my bitch always. And that's what I teach to a lot of my clients. And it's how can you still jump through the bare minimum loopholes they need to, but you can still make it your bitch. You reframe the conversation to you, right? And so that's a lot of what I teach them is how to smile and nod with the small shit you don't care about, but still have your own main purpose. And it'll also help woo your probation officer, which can help you get off easier and all that kind of shit. So
that's a useful skill because it gives them back their agency.
Yeah, and I let them pick their worldview. You got to use a lot of car salesman tactics and being able to understand the flow of information and being able to control the conversation to point it towards what do they want to change? How can you help them change?
Yeah.
On top of helping them check all the boxes that we actually did the work, right?
Okay. That's productive.
So it's a very interesting job. You got to get really creative if you want to do it the fun way, I guess.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so, right now I'm helping him get into trade schools. I wrote it down a list of every trade school within his area that is criminal record friendly. So we're going through all those. I helped him write his resume, and we're starting to apply for all those schools that he's interested in. So
kind of restores your faith in the universe.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
it's pretty great. And I teach a lot of substance abuse groups as well. That's about half my job as well. Is
what do you do?
It's so the program we have, there's two types of substance abuse use. There's guys who voluntarily come in on their own, which is like 90% of my guys. And then the rest are
like court appointed
people like who get court appointed drug court mandatory groups. And so my entire Tuesdays and Thursdays are dedicated to one of those two groups where I go in there and I do about 3 or 4 hours, and every hour they get a 10-minute break to go smoke and all of that kind of shit. Go to the bathroom, go to smoke, get a drink. And then we just bust out anything I can think of off the top of my head that I think would help them. And they give you a curriculum, but if you get a good audience there, you can kind of do whatever you want. And so, I teach a lot about coping skills, mindfulness, finding your passion, how your brain and body are connected, and how your health affects your brain and how your brain affects your health.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Cool. How long have you been doing now?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Aaron.
I was going to say, does the religion play a part in that at all, or are you supposed to remain particularly secular when you're dealing with these people according to like some rule or on the one-on-one aspect,
you can talk about religion, helping them plug into church and talk about stuff if that's what they want to talk about. You're not allowed to push it on them because they can sue you and all that, like I was saying before. But for the groups, whenever we talk about any of those things, like, have you ever seen a lot of A groups? They have the higher power. And I just say, you attribute it either to the religion you believe in, or if you don't know what to apply the higher power is, it'll be yourself 5 years from now, because that's the approximate time where you go through major life changes. And how I put that is like, think about yourself right now and think about yourself 5 years ago and how stupid you were, but you thought you knew everything, right?
Wow. I'm imagining TJ 5 years from today. Wow.
Yeah. And so likewise, think of your 5-year-old, like, what do you want to be? What do you want to do in 5 years? And does that guy think you're stupid right now? That's what you look towards, right? And that's kind of how I explained it to the agnostic atheist crowd or the non-religious crowd, is like, whenever any of these groups and steps talk about higher powers and stuff, like, think about that. Think about your mission and your purpose and your frame, essentially, to use red pill terms. Where do you want to be in 5 years? And would you 5 years from now think what you're doing right now is stupid? Does that make sense? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, it provides like a perfect, for anyone who's secular or doesn't
Yeah.
believe in a God. No, that's a perfect goal or identity or pseudo God to pursue. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and a lot of this I got. The place I worked at 80-hour work weeks, where they paid you beans and did a bunch of illegal shit. I actually ran a leadership group for high school and college age men, and I wrote my own curriculum for it and everything. And I usually take tidbits of that and throw them into these groups based on who I got there and who I think we get the most benefit of it. And so right now, I don't tell them this, but I'm telling them like I'm essentially going through my curriculum I invented for 18-year-olds. But I'm telling it to, these 30 and 40-year-old guys and girls that are fresh out of prison in the drug court system. So, and it all still applies. And a lot of it has to do with that kind of like 5-year you aspect and how to understand yourself.
Do you see yourself like, is this you found your purpose and calling, or are you moving towards a larger goal and this is just a temporary thing? Because traveling pastor sounds pretty freaking awesome right about now.
Yeah.
And you must have some kind of agency. Well, no, not some kind of, you definitely do have an agency and purpose, but down the road, do you see yourself like having an actual church or something, or setting up a clinic or facility?
Yeah. I'm pretty opportunistic by nature. I guess that's kind of how I am. I'm really big into winging it and improvisation. It's kind of what my brain's suited to. When I do my 4-hour session tomorrow, I'm not going to think about it until 30 minutes before it starts. So I have no idea what I'm going to talk about for 4 hours tomorrow, but it always comes out great and everyone's way happier. And they say like, I'm the best guy that's done groups in years. So I'm very proud of that. Nice. My long-term goals is I want to retire when I'm 40. I'm pretty minimalist. I live on about $1,500 a month. You know what I mean? And the downside of social work is it pays jack shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does.
Right now I'm getting about 17 an hour.
A lot more. Podcast pastor will pay you a lot more.
I know, right? I'd love to get into that. That's something
I have a guy who might have a connection.
You're talking to the right man.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah.
Why do you think he's been asking the question?
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, because I thought about doing the YouTube talking head, all those things. I'm actually a moderator for both Rich Cooper and Rollo Tomasi's channel. I talk to them on a pretty regular basis. And I was thinking about, putting my own hat in the ring because, like we talked about before, Dalrock blog is a huge part of Red Pill and religion community. But, a lot of people can't sit and read articles all day, that face-to-face interaction, that be able to call in, be able to talk person to person, whether it be chat room, super chats, call-ins. Like we don't really have that aspect right now. And I know Rollo's done it before, but he's got a lot on his plate. You know what I mean? And so I kind of want to take the reins of that. But like, I'm not going to lie. That's probably my worst. That's probably my biggest thing is like, I know jack shit about money and all of that. I know I
have another person who can help you out with consulting. Website. Yeah. We'll talk later.
Oh yeah. That's good. I'm definitely thinking. So yeah. So I like doing this job because it's easy and I know it's right up my alley. But 17 an hour is enough to pay my bills because I have no bills. But I'm definitely not going to retire anytime soon. So I was thinking about looking into Kansas City real estate or anything like that, some other kind of passive income that it's not going to take all my time, or doing online consulting, anything like that. Those are some balls I'm juggling at the moment.
Do you want to do the social work angle, or do you actually want to like go and preach the word of Christ kind of thing? Not only for my personal vested evil capitalist interest, but I'm just kind of curious. I mean, where's your future lie?
Well, I mean, like I said before, I'm a winging it extraordinaire. I'll talk about whatever people want to talk about. I'm pretty good at, like I was saying before, I'm really good at getting to the heart of the issue of what people are talking about and what they want to change and don't want to change, and helping point them in the right direction. So really, any kind of therapy, consulting in any really aspect. I have a lot of experience in like behavioral health, mental health, substance abuse, and religion, and a lot of Greek philosophy, which actually my leadership group was based off of that I did before. Oh, okay. I just didn't tell my bosses because they would freak out and think it's witchcraft. Yeah. We taught a lot of Socrates and Plato.
Well, this is a fortuitous meeting between Aaron and Conk.
I just see a nice, easy future. I just want to bring Christianity to the masses.
Yeah.
Take my 50% cut. That's all.
Whatever floats your goat, sir.
50% would float my goat. Yes, 50% would indeed. Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm open to anything really. So
Good.
All right.
Excellent.
There you go. This entire broadcast was worthwhile then there, Aaron. There you go.
And Sam Bada will be really happy because he's been on my ass 24/7 to get me up on this channel. Me and Sam have talked a lot. He's a good friend of mine, and he's definitely one of my main supports and cheerleaders to help me get my message out because he thinks I got it. So,
Sam's a good man. Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sam Bada's the dude.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Definitely a supporter of Masculine Geek. All right. So we are coming up on the 2.5 hour mark, and Aaron just expressed it so eloquently with that massive yawn. We are all tired.
I'm not.
Oh no! Okay.
Yawn
You just
more oxygen. I want to pick on Mr. Clean here. He has a particularly bold head. I haven't picked on
It's twice as
TJ
bold
enough.
as the original.
Yeah, I haven't picked on TJ enough. I mean, maybe I threw 1 or 2 barbs. It's not a good night until you throw at least a dozen barbs at TJ.
A dozen barbs.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a night until you get the horizontal
like Neo,
tree.
It's like Neo dodging bullets, my boy.
Yeah,
you just got to get the horizontal.
Aaron, we started you're late to the party.
I'm sorry.
You're not even fashionably late. You're just fucking late.
We were just.
I had to drop the G off at the airport, and I had to deal with the niece.
What?
I mean, can he technically be late if he was
Wow,
ever
wow,
related? That's the
wow.
real question.
What? Because I have a soul? Because I was in servitude of
You
other
don't
people.
have a
Like
soul.
the good Christian I am. Like the good Christian I am.
You
Worshiping
got that
Christ.
Protestant work ethic, y'all.
Yeah, as long as there's money in there. Yeah.
Japanese.
That's
Well,
where the quarter Jew in me comes in that I kind of like. Well, yeah.
Jew.
The quarter Jew wants half.
You guys know I'm quarter Jew, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I've heard it on your podcast.
Yeah.
So
Because
if you're
we
full Jew,
all
would you
the
want like
ex-
75 or 90%? Is that how that
Well,
works? I'm not sure how the math is
obviously, I don't want to
translated.
insult my ancestors. What's going on with it?
What is they?
But it'd make you feel better. I was late to my own podcast here as a guest to poop my dog.
he was pooping his dog.
Yeah, and it was unsuccessful attempt. There's too much going on. He didn't even poop.
So
was
he's
upset.
holding the big one back for you.
Yeah, I know. I'm about to go walk around a graveyard at night part 2.
Well, listen, Conk, here's the deal. I got this website called podcastpastor.com. There's only one thing I'm missing.
Oh, yeah?
It's a pastor.
Oh, yeah?
And then Mr. Clean there is like, yeah, I went over on the online internet, got myself an online certification. So I think I know this guy called...
Everything that's coming out of his mouth, just ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is not true.
Yeah.
No, actually, so far, this is true.
He's not lying.
No, it's not.
What are you talking about? I have a website called Podcast Pastor. I did go to Mr. Clean over there, and
Yes,
he did say, well, I do have a certification online. Right, Rob? You got it online?
Yes.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes.
So far, I ain't lying.
No, TJ is totally gay, is not telling a lie.
I'm not telling a lie. And then I said, well, are you an ordained pastor? You're like, no, not really. You know, I know
In that
I know
voice.
Deuteronomy's in the Old Testament and Matthew's in the New Testament. That's about all. I'm like, yeah, we need something a little bit more legitimate.
Yeah, he was like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and then
So that was
what?
that.
Are you petting a pussy too? You have a
Yes.
cat?
Yes, I have 2.
Hey, at least it's not on a pedestal, right?
No,
That's
this
true.
one's not on a pedestal. He's just on my lap, though.
What is that cat's name?
This is Normal. He's a Maine Coon.
What?
Look how big
Oh,
he
so
is.
he's a big...
Holy cow! That's Jesus.
That's a big pussy.
Looks like a white cougar.
It also looks
Pretty
like the perfect shade for a wig if you need one.
Yeah,
There you go.
pretty
Same.
much.
Drape him
Yeah.
over your head. Look at him, his head up there. It's
Look
like
at him,
a-
yeah, man.
If
He
you could
likes you,
rival
Rob.
Trump's
You're doing a
toupee with
good
that,
job.
that'd be awesome.
I forgot what I was yelling about, but anyway, the whole point is neither TJ, because TJ's too honest and he's too nice and he's a nice guy, and then Rob, he really is an ordained. I need an ordained pastor to run this site and provide me a sermon every
He
Sunday.
needs the real deal as well.
I need the real deal, unfortunately.
Yeah,
And
who
then
can
there'd be
forget St. Peter's, certified pastorship?
It's
No,
not,
yeah, he has no
it's not
comeback.
20 AD. It's not
has no
20
comeback.
AD.
Excuse me. Peter wrote his Gospels in 65 AD. Thank you very much.
Wait, St. Pete lived that
He
long?
didn't write them. Mark wrote
Around
them.
there, yeah.
He dictated them.
Yeah, but most of Paul's was in the 50s. Peter's was in the 60s, and the Gospels were in the 60s and 70s.
All right, and then they all compiled them at Nicaea at what, 300 AD, 400
Yeah,
AD?
it was like 350 or 325.
See, look how
around there.
good.
All right,
biblical
guys
I am.
in the chat, real quick, type in 1 if you think Conk would be a good fit for what Aaron wants to do.
Oh, I think he would,
Yeah.
because he's got the soul and the heart. Well, Conk, you actually you are a Christian, right?
Yeah, I'm just very unplugged from the current church culture and
Yeah, okay, but you're a mercenary Christian. You're
Yeah.
like Friar Tuck when the bad guy in Robin Hood ran off and did the bad stuff. You actually are the
Robin Hood was the bad guy in the story. Technically, he was the
Robin
villain.
Hood was the good guy, and then the sheriff of Nottingham was the bad guy.
Hey, you got to be the
Friar
villain
Tuck.
in someone's story. Robin Hood was the villain. Friar Tuck was the villain.
Okay,
Fucking bacon.
contact.
Yeah, I can shoot you a Gmail. I think that's what the kids use these days.
The kids,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, that's it. That's a Gmail, as in Google email, and email is electronic mail.
Eh, what? I can't hear you. What?
We're gonna have to send you have to send a carrier pigeon out to
And
Aaron.
.com stands for .communist because they share all of it with the government.
I knew them damn commies be coming for me. You see the new the cover there, TJ? I was thinking about putting you for the book. Like it'd just be a picture of you in the center with the red.
I don't know how that would work out for you. It would sell books, just not for the reason they walk away and be like, "Wow, this has nothing to do with the guy on the front cover."
Yeah, no, I know. That's the thing is, well, can you get? Well, never mind. I was thinking like maybe you had enough. Can you go to Seattle and find a group of really millennial-looking millennials and just take a picture because they're all excited about the selfies and then just send it to me?
No,
No,
No.
no.
So you two definitely need to talk because I think
Yeah.
there's a thing happening here. There's a
Mhm.
convergence happening.
Fortuitous.
That guy?
As there definitely something with Aaron and Conk. There you go.
That'd be fun. Oh yeah, I read. I think my favorite book of yours was "Curse of the High IQ." I think that like reframed my whole childhood of thinking I was stupid.
cool. No, I
Didn't find. Yeah, that's one of my favorite books. I talk about it all the time.
I'm
Curse of the High-
thankful you actually read one of my books, even know who I am. I'm really, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, I also read Bachelor Pet Economics, but I think I just passed the age range where probably maybe only half of it applies to me. I already did the college debt snowball and all that shit. So
Have you heard of the book called The Stringers?
no, I don't think so.
The Slingers.
The Stringers.
No, the Slingers. Have you heard of the Slingers?
I know that is a word, but I don't know.
Okay,
the
but
book
have you heard the catapulters?
What?
No, have you heard? I'm just let me ask Conk the question. Conk, have you heard of the Stringers? No.
No.
Okay, the Slingers.
I feel like this is a word association game.
No, the catapulters.
Jesus Christ.
I know people who have used catapults. But
Never mind. I was just wondering if you heard of any TJ. What were your books again, TJ? It was the Stringers, the Masturbators, the Oil Changers. What were the
I'm
books
sorry
again?
if I offended you, TJ, but
The
yeah.
masturbators.
Rich Cooper's kind of my connection to almost all the Manosphere. He's kind of my go-to guy.
Oh
So
shit.
if you're friends with him, then I kind of know your stuff.
There's Aaron, the
Well,
old
thank you
man.
very much.
Oh,
TJ,
God.
what? Okay, it's the Stringers, the Informers. What was the third one you wrote?
The Redeemers.
The Redeemers. Okay,
And
yeah.
then there's Men Who Walk Alone.
And Masturbators is not one of the quintology.
Masturbators.
Pretty sure it's not, Aaron.
He is so regretting he ever met me or reached out to me. He's
Yeah, I was
I'm
thinking.
not
guys,
promoting your
let them know
podcast
that I'm in
anymore,
Seattle.
Aaron Clary.
What about trees that go horizontal alone? Is that a book?
Walk
Is that-
Alone.
trees that go horizontal alone.
Millennials who walk alone. Oh God. Hey, there's your sequel, Aaron, right there.
No, I gotta call. I'll talk to TJ. There may not be a sequel, but I'll call TJ.
There'll be a
later.
sequel, and guess what? You're going to end up in the book, and you're going to end up getting
die.
blown up.
Is that what I'm gonna, dude? I would love it if you killed me. That'd be great if you made
That
a
would be kinda
character
cool,
and you
actually.
killed me. That'd be the biggest compliment ever. And there was this douche. I'd be like, I'd have a paragraph, and the trolley came out and went, yeah, see, and he was smoking a
Yeah.
cigar, and then and he got hit by
Ran him right
a
over,
streetcar
see?
right over it. It says,
Oh.
dang it, why are trees horizontal? And he gasped. That was his last words. And they said, why are trees horizontal in his obituary? Yeah.
The boomer boomed boomerly.
Yeah, actually, fun fact. I'm writing a book right now, and I got kind of bored with it, so I'm starting to kill off some of the characters. I think it's really going to spice up my autobiography.
There you go.
Nice.
Nice.
Nobody? No? Come on. I
Eh.
thought that was a good joke.
All right, I'm gonna go. I appreciate you having me on. I did not mean to interrupt or obtuse the conversation, but Conk, it was great meeting you.
You're always a welcome addition to the talk.
Thank you.
sir.
And then I
Oh,
do
you
want to
added
talk to
to
Conk
it.
later. So Conk, reach out to me, or I'll get your information from other people because I have a proposition.
You have some emails that you can use.
I'm gonna make
you an offer.
Is it the day of your dog's quinceanera?
Bibbidi bobbidi bobbidi oopity. The stringers, the informers, and
The masturbators. The masturbators.
I'll see you guys.
Take it easy, Aaron.
See you, Aaron.
Good Lord. Okay. Now, Conk, where can everyone find you?
I have Vanguard_Conk at Twitter.
Mhm.
And I have Conk, the YouTube channel, but it only has like a video just seeing if some of my new crap I bought works.
Okay.
Once I start actually moving into this place and getting settled, I'll start making content off that. I've got a lot of good stuff in line. I think
Okay.
some of the stuff Rob would really like because a lot of it is metal analogies.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
I actually wrote 2 papers that I was very proud of in college. I went to a very liberal Christian college, which A, sucks because of all the politics they slam down your throat, but B, they were so over accepting of everything. I could write anything and they would give me A's for creativity.
Wow.
So I wrote a sermon paper about why the church should be more like Slipknot. And then I wrote another paper about why pastors would be better off idealizing Joker and not Batman.
Dude,
And
I
so
need to read
I'm proud
both
of
of
those. So I might make
That-
those video
Man.
essay forms. And
no, are you planning on putting out your own website?
maybe I'm pretty stupid in regards to all that type of technology stuff.
Mhm.
I'm definitely not a web data IT type guy. I know my VR pretty well, and that's about it. So,
Dude, none of us are like coders either. So if us idiots can do it, so can you.
oh yeah, that makes me feel a lot better.
Seriously.
Or it'll make me feel extra dumb because
It's not hard.
We could help
I'm
you set
below
that up.
idiot.
Yeah.
We could help you set that up.
Yeah,
For real.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
definitely interested. It's definitely been on the burner for a while. I talked to Martin Life John about it in private before, and he gave me a lot of good ideas. I just gotta finish this transition, and we'll see where I can go with that. So
Okay. Cool.
yeah, good stuff.
All right.
But yeah, I'll probably have to poop the dog and hit the set.
I was gonna say, yeah, we're coming
Yeah,
up on
tomorrow's my 4-hour drug court group sessions, so
All right.
I gotta go
Well,
make up stuff for that.
it was fantastic. It was fantastic having you on, Conk, and we definitely want to have you back on again.
Oh yeah, for
See what
sure.
you're up to. Absolutely. So Rob, where can everyone find you?
You guys can find me at robsays.net. It's right there in the chat now. That's my flagship, I guess. That's my blog. It's got all of my links in the about section to my YouTube, which I'm going to type that in real quick.
All right.
Just so that people have it if they want it, because I noticed Bacon said something.
He said he's going to subscribe to your channel. Yeah.
That's it right there. But you can find me on Twitter, all that stuff. It's all on robsays.net. So
Okay.
you guys can all find me there.
Excellent. TJ.
You can go to tjmartinell.com to find my podcast and the books that Aaron just slandered.
Men Who Walk Alone is very good. I suggest you pick it up. We're going to be turning that into something special over the Village by the Sea next week. So stay tuned. Conk, is there any parting words you want to give out to the chat and to the viewers for later?
I would say, especially if you're a Christian out there confused, power is not a scary, immoral thing. I think that's something really important that we brushed on a couple times. But power is options and making things happen. So if you're not doing it, someone else is. Pacifism and being a good boy is not a virtue. Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things a lot of Christian men have to get through their heads.
This is true.
Yeah,
this is true, and everyone really.
Yeah, Jesus and Paul both had multiple parables and teachings about being shrewd, which is about being manipulative and powerful. So,
okay,
just churches don't like to talk about it.
Yeah, apparently it's a no-no.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Conk, for coming on. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor to have you on. Like I said, we definitely want to have you back on the show.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's good hanging out, shooting said shit.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, Sam. It's on the to-do list. I promise.
You're gonna see, I have a feeling we're going to see some interesting and amazing things coming from your work over the next year. So we look forward to it, and we'll support you any way we can. So keep us definitely keep us posted. Yeah, absolutely.
It's been pretty fun.
This has been very fun. All right, everyone. Once again, Masculine Geek number 35, special guest Conk, Vanguard_Conk. Go follow him on Twitter. Make sure you go and do that now. Actually, also go sign up for our newsletter as well to keep abreast. That's right, I said breast. Keep abreast of everything that we're doing at Masculine Geek. So and on Saturday we have our Masculine Geek Saturday morning cartoon hour, which was rescheduled from last Saturday. So join us this Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And if we don't see you then, we'll see you next Wednesday. Until then, everyone have a good evening.
All right. Peace.